Okay, we're ready to go for Spanish Fork City Council meeting, August 4th, 2026. Thanks for everybody for coming. You'll have to excuse the council tonight a little bit. We are looking at a different look on our council agendas. It's the same stuff, but it's in different boxes and everything. And
we're lost.
Some of us.
Jesse's the only one comfortable with it.
Some of us.
So if we look like we're lost a little bit, it's because we're clicking around a new system up here.
If you've read the organizational book, Who Moved My Cheese? We did. And it's fun. Every once in a while, staff can be mean, and today's one of those days.
And Taro, I'm not knocking it. It was a necessity that we do this, right? The old system was going away.
Yes.
So we didn't do this
Had no choice.
just to mess with Councilman Euler. It was because we had to do this. So
I don't like change.
he doesn't like change. Okay, so thank you everybody in person. Thank you everybody online for joining us. We will not change how we start our meeting with a prayer, motivational message by Councilman Took, and then Councilman Euler will lead us in the pledge. Councilman Took.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this evening for the inspirational thought and prayer for the city, I invited one of my dear friends and a champion of Spanish Fork City in many ways. If you know this individual, Susan Chapman, dear friend of mine, and just appreciate you accepting the invitation, Susan, and feel free to come up, share your thought and prayer, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you. I did bring some notes. It's still brief. Don't worry. I'm not going to take too much time. But my name is Susan Chapman. A lot of you are familiar with me. I'm very grateful to be back here. I was very grateful for Councilman Took to ask me to do this brief thought today. I wanted to start with a story. I grew up in Benjamin, west of Spanish Fork. The youngest of 7, my dad was the youngest of 11. When my dad was very young, he was about 11 years old at this time, my grandfather got cancer. My grandfather left the hospital and jumped on a bus to go home because he knew that his time was short and that he would pass away soon. As it happened, harvest time was nearing at the same time as my grandpa grew close to death. The family farm sustained them. It was their income and support. The family gathered around him, and as they sat together, almost like a scene out of a movie, they heard a commotion outside. When they looked out, they saw the townspeople arriving with their tractors, their horses, their gloves, their hats, all ready to help bring in the harvest. The community pulled together and brought in the harvest for my grandparents' family. When the work was done, my grandfather gathered the children, the 11 kids around his bed, and he said, "Always remember what this community has done for our family." That story's been passed on and told at dinner tables and front porches, and it's been told a lot because we have a very large posterity. It didn't just shape my family, but it's shaped my own children's families. If this were only true for my family in this one community, this would be remarkable enough, but it's not unique, and that's what makes it more amazing. When Councilman Took asked me to share a thought, I found myself thinking about what I loved about Spanish Fork. I thought about the Fit City Center, the trails, the libraries, the amazing activities, the businesses, the restaurants. But the thing that I thought about the most what stood out was the people. So I put out a call on social media and asked if anybody had any experiences they wanted to share. Adam Gold shared how he was once stranded in Mesquite after a concert with his family, and his car had broken down. He called Jordan Hawks, who drove down immediately with his big trailer and loaded his car and his kids and all of his belongings and brought him home. Randy Chipman shared a story about his neighborhood. A house caught on fire while the parents were away. The children were asleep upstairs, and no alarm was sounding. He broke in through the door. Dennis McGraw, ran in and got the kids out safely. What followed became a moment that brought the whole neighborhood closer, as donations, without even setting up a Venmo, poured in from neighbors, and the neighbors showed up for one another. I have a neighbor who, every time it snowed, after I was recovering from my back injury, he cleared the driveway before I even woke up. Another time I saw a family struggling, and I sent out a call for help, and the people who responded in my neighborhood were people who think very different than I do, and we're often on different sides of the issues, but that didn't matter. They showed up anyway. There is so much more that connects us than divides us. This community is living proof that Spanish Fork is in fact special, and we all feel it. Someday these stories that I shared, and all those that haven't been shared, will be shared and told at dinner tables and on front porches, passed down the same way my grandfather's story was passed down to me. What makes Spanish Fork remarkable, despite our amazing trails and our library and Fit City Center and activities? It's the people. I want to use my personal freedom at this time to express gratitude for our community in the best way that I know how, if you'll join me in an expression of prayer and gratitude. Our dear Father in heaven, we're so grateful for this amazing community. We're grateful for our city council members, our administration, our staff, our first responders. We ask thee to please bless them, please bless their families as they support our city. We ask thee to please bless our community, that it will be protected from natural disasters and harm. We ask that we can continue to be united. We say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good stuff. Thank you. Appreciate those thoughts. We've got some recognitions tonight that we're excited to recognize some good people. Susan, while you're here, I'm going to kind of double dip that and just recognize Susan as a great contributor in this community. The Fit City Center, a lot of the things that you see happening in Spanish Fork, to be aware of our general health, not just our physical health, but our mental health. Susan was a champion of that, helped us get grant money where we didn't know grant money existed, and really helped us out getting the Fit City Fair started and everything else that has to do with a lot of health. And so I'm glad you're here tonight so we can recognize you and say thanks to you publicly and do that along with some other recognitions. So Councilman Took, I'm giving you a kudos. Good choice. You did well. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. Okay, a couple of the other recognitions that we have tonight, and it's fitting since we last met, I think, just prior to Fiesta Days, and now Fiesta Days is over, and you're already starting the next Fiesta Days, right, Stacy?
Yep.
Committee's going to probably meet this month.
Yep, we're meeting in 2 weeks.
Insane.
Debrief.
Okay, well, this is along with that theme. We'd like to invite Ace and Burke up here to the microphone. These are the Austin brothers. And if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and then tell me what's really going on. But we have a couple of high school rodeo champions here. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
If you'll introduce yourselves and tell us what happened and when it happened.
So I'm Burke Austin.
I'm Ace Austin.
I'm 19 years old. I just graduated from Spanish Fork High.
I'm 17. I finished out my junior year this past May.
And we just went to the National High School Finals in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was July 19th through the 26th. And we were able to have some good luck. And
I ended up winning the steer wrestling national title and the all-around national title.
I ended up being the reserve world champion in the steer wrestling and the reserve all-around cowboy.
Wow.
Back to back. So champion and reserve are just back to back, right?
Yeah.
So Utah kind of took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
Spanish Fork kind of took it.
Yeah.
We did.
Oh, okay, cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Mom and dad are here, right?
Yeah, this is my parents,
I
Judd and Katie
recognize you. I know
Austin.
your parents. Yeah, I know these guys. I didn't know they produced good kids, but I knew these guys. Yeah. Well, awesome. Any questions, council, for
Yeah,
a
I got
couple of
one.
good cowboys here?
I'm curious about how old were you guys when your dad made you first jump off a horse and tackle a stair?
I think I was 14.
14 when you.
So you've been doing it 3 years?
I started, it would have been
Your freshman.
3 weeks before school started my freshman year.
Hey.
Wow.
And then I jumped the summer before my sophomore year. He made me wait one more year because I wasn't big enough.
So you wanted to jump off a horse
Yeah.
onto a moving cow?
Yes.
All right.
We've grown up. Ground throwing is what it's called, or shoot dogging. It's kind of your junior high level type of bulldogging. You just take them out of the chute. But then
Like run next to them and
yeah. And then we stepped up off to horses when we got into high school.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Very big congratulations to
yeah,
you
it's
both.
super
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
congrats.
representing
That's
the
awesome.
community well.
Yeah.
What's next? You going to college, Burke,
I'm
what are you
going
doing?
mission.
Okay.
I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
All
I
right.
leave I start August 19th, and then after that, I will be attending Utah Valley University on a rodeo scholarship.
Nice.
Cool.
Oh, very cool.
They got any horses and steers in New Mexico or?
They got a lot of people that rodeo and rope, so maybe we'll make some
Okay,
They
good.
have the best food in Albuquerque.
great
You
food.
love it. Amazing.
So when should we expect to see you in our Fiesta Days rodeo? Is that something that's on your bucket list?
If the finals wasn't over Fiesta Days, I was actually going to enter, but when I get home from my mission, I'll be trying to enter Fiesta Days. Yes.
Can we get an exemption? Can we make a mayor's exemption?
I don't think we can. I mean, we can try. I think you should try. I would just be okay if you get turned down, but
Yeah, yeah. I'll write a
it's a
letter.
PRCA
We'll see.
thing. So, sorry, steer wrestling and what else?
I made it to nationals in the steer wrestling, the calf roping, and the team roping.
So, okay, you did all three.
All around.
Yep. And then,
I made it in the steer wrestling and we team rope together.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
Who's the head? Who's the heel?
I had and
High hill.
So, who's the better of the two? And that's ask mom and dad. You're not going to answer that.
They're not going to answer.
Yeah. I mean, who misses? If you're going to miss the head or the heel, who's going to miss?
Probably me.
No, don't say, come on. Don't be too nice.
at least he's honest.
He's like,
Tell you're close though, like you're just finishing each other's sentences, and it's
cool.
cool. I bet you work very well together out there doing
Yeah,
what
he's
you do.
considered my bigger little brother. He's always been bigger than me for the most part, and it was something that's never been done. What we did out of the high school finals, no one related has ever gone 1 and 2, let alone brothers 1 and 2.
That's pretty dang cool.
It's a
there
big
has to be
deal.
time when you're like wrestling each other in the dirt, though.
There
Yeah.
has
I mean,
been a
you're not
couple
that
times.
nice to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's a mom and dad
practices get
question.
heated. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So did you guys miss Fiesta Days at all? You were gone the whole week?
gone
or
the whole week.
Laser focused on where you're at, or
Yeah,
Yeah, we left, would have been the Friday before it started and got home the Sunday after.
Darn it.
Jeez.
Well, we wish you the best and hope you take a title home from our Fiesta Days
Yep.
arena one day.
hopefully one day.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Congratulations.
representing us, and please come up here. And Pete's a picture guy that likes to get a picture up here, but we want to give you a round of applause before you do that, if you can.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great job. Congratulations.
How you doing? It's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Well done. Yeah.
Well done.
Get those two guys in the. You guys surrounding.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty amazing.
Good kids.
Was Dad a steer wrestler?
Yeah, runs this family, huh?
Generational. Yeah.
Never headed that way.
What a great problem. So when those parents put their kids on sheets and they're screaming and clawing,
That
it
was
wasn't
you?
like that.
Yeah.
They wanted to.
Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you. Very cool stuff, and we'll get that picture, Pete, and get it up in the mayor's office. I'll have him sign it first, again. Okay, thanks, Ace and Burke. We appreciate that. We have an employee of the quarter that we'd like to recognize now, and this is a good guy. We got a lot of good guys and guys and gals in our workforce here in Spanish Fork, but it's always fun to recognize an employee of the quarter. I'm not sure who's getting up to recognize. There he is, Mr. Hayward. Okay.
Just gonna pull out some of the references so we are, or I should say, one of my employees, Brian Ridge, was recognized, a lot of it from the library, and I'm just gonna read some of their comments here on some of the things that they said. It says, Brian Ridge saves our bacon at the library all the time. He makes personal visits all the time to fix personal staff computers, public access computers, printers, etc. And he knows lots of library staff names because he works with us so much. You would think he'd be sick of us by now, but he always comes in and says hi with a smile, and we're always excited to see him and eager to use his expertise for as long as we can manage to steal him from all the other people who need him. We know he's high in demand. It says this is when it says, recognize him for exceptional service, professionalism, and dedication he consistently demonstrates in support of our library staff. What sets him apart is not just his technical expertise, but the way he delivers it, with patience, responsiveness, and genuine care. Whenever our team encounters technical issues, whether large or small, he responds quickly and works efficiently to resolve them with minimal disruption to our operations. His ability to troubleshoot under pressure while maintaining a calm and approachable demeanor has been invaluable, especially during moments of high stress when we rely heavily on technology to serve the public. Just some of the comments I have is I've worked with him now for 6 years, and it's been a pleasure to work with him. He's always got a cheerful demeanor. There's always times when people get frustrated and things like that, but he's very responsive. He does take care of and works a lot of things. He helps support all the full-time staff, as well as the city council members on the day-to-day stuff. And he does 95% of that work. And I appreciate it from my perspective because it means I don't have to do it. But I'd like to have him come up here now and say, kind of recognize him because he's been a great help for the city and stuff. So thank you, Brian.
Cool. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here, and it's exciting. So yeah.
Brian, I want to introduce you to Stacy Beck.
Hello.
She could use your help on occasion.
Okay. There's
Specifically today.
Yeah.
I've probably overused Brian. We started from the beginning, like a computer, and like, all right, how do I turn it on, Brian? And he's like, really? This is our mayor. But
exactly.
Yeah.
See you all the time. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
Messaging them all.
There you
out.
go.
Isn't there like IT client privilege that you keep that on the down low?
Yeah.
So I think we all know Brian's mom as well. Lisa is the one that brings all the Cub Scouts or all the scouts into all of our council meetings. Every time you see a group of scouts in the room, it's usually Brian's mom that's got them here.
That's cool.
So,
Okay.
She is
Pretty
here
cool.
all the time. Yeah. So
pretty cool.
couldn't talk her into coming tonight. But
Next time, that's funny.
Hilarious.
It's probably the scout meeting. It's probably the
exactly.
scouts night.
Yeah. That's
Well, Brian, you're a great employee. I know, just like what was shared about other departments that you work with. That's a pretty high honor. That's pretty cool. That's what we are in Spanish Fork, Swiss Army knives. Everybody going and helping and using the tools wherever they can to keep the city going. And you're one of those people. So we appreciate you up here, and the whole city does. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love working with all the departments. It's kind of fun to see all the cogs and stuff that go on in the city and get to rub shoulders with, everyone, the police and the finance and the library and stuff. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Brian, you're working on your cybersecurity master's degree, is that right?
I am getting a master's in cybersecurity right now. So
nice.
we're about halfway done.
Nice.
And your hair is different today than it was a few years ago.
Yeah,
What gives?
it changes frequently. So, I'll grow it out to like my shoulders and then cut it all off real short, and then
He worked with John Bocut.
Exactly.
So that
Got instruction. Yeah, that's good. That's great. Well, thank you, Brian.
Brian.
Sure appreciate you, brother. Thank you, and good congratulations.
Congrats. It's got a tie on, no.
You go right in the middle, Brian. There
In
you
the
go.
middle.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Okay, Stacy, move around Brian, because you're too tall.
No, you're good. I moved.
The other one, the short one.
We'll see.
Thank you.
What time did you
Thanks,
come to work
guys.
this morning?
Okay, one more recognition before we move on to public comments here, and this is one that I'm going to have Seth introduce a little bit, but I do remember this incident and why we're recognizing this individual. I think it was a good day. I was calling you for something, and I thought, and then Seth answered the phone. He's like, with some different kind of voice. And I'm like, all right, we're not talking about what I was calling about. And it was quite the emergency in town that he was telling me about. But this person certainly does deserve some recognition for his handling, and it would be a bad disaster if this got a lot worse. And I'll leave it at that. Seth, you can
Yeah, thanks.
talk more about it.
Terry, if you'll come up. Terry Ficklin runs our transfer station, the solid waste district that we have, and honestly, this is as much a recognition of really the whole department, right? And I think Terry would be like, "Hey, this is not about me."
Yeah.
But yeah, on July 11th, I think it was, so almost a month ago.
Yeah.
There was a fire at the transfer station, and I think that thing was built, and it's not uncommon to have fires in transfer stations because people
weekly.
bring in hot loads. By that, the term hot load means something's on fire, or close to being on fire, and things get mixed around. And I think you could probably describe what happened, but what I thought was really amazing, and you look at some of these pictures. Jack Urquhart was there. In fact, we've asked Terry to check the video footage. We've given him what Jack was driving. We're not sure that he has an alibi, but Jack actually happened to be there. These are not from Jack, but Jack saw these and was like, "Seth, I was there." And to be able to put this fire out, and I can detail some of that after maybe you speak, but probably most impressive to me was that we were receiving garbage again on Monday.
Yeah.
And so maybe detail a little bit about what that took, and I can talk again to the fire side, but you probably want to talk about that too because you were there.
The fire occurred exactly when the alarm was about 12:12, so it was just after lunch.
Yeah, Jack was there.
12:12, and when the call out went. And after reviewing the videos, it appears that it was a flammable liquid that somebody thought they would bring to us and decided to set it on the floor rather than on the table of probably where it should have been, right? We wouldn't have had this problem. And we recognized the liquid mainly because the way the fire works, because he pushed it up to the top, and it caught on fire and just kind of came down the whole volcano kind of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so the crew, we have reviewed the tapes. We have lots of cameras, lots of angles, and they did follow procedure. We try to, because it happens fairly often. What we train them to do is to pull it down, circle it, isolate it, then we can get in on it, and that's usually once a week. So it's not uncommon, but they're mainly smoke at that time, and very seldom do we get a blaze. This wasn't that situation. This one caught fast. Everybody responded. Thank you to Spanish Fork for all the equipment they sent, plus everything else, and all the other cities from Provo all the way to Santaquin. So we're called out. So we're grateful for that. But proud to say that the building did what it was designed to do. The push wall protects the equipment, even after more than 4 hours of burn in the building. We had minimal damage. The sprinklers did go off. About 620 of them have had to been replaced in the last 4 weeks. That's now done. We're back now fully certified and operational in the full building. After the fire, we were able to open, and because the building's large, we just moved down closer to A, B, C, and D. We just used that side and been using that up until 2 days ago when the fire marshal cleared us to have the entire building open. So I have 6 light fixtures still coming is all. I think that was more water damage than heat. We estimated the temperature up in that high ceiling was probably in the 400s, so it wasn't enough to even, for the most part, burn the netting down. We just had netting in one hot spot that was next to the push wall. But after I actually saw Seth at the conclusion, when everything was just dripping at that point, that, we had a little bit of work to do the weekend. So we worked all through the night Saturday, all day Sunday, and we were open for business Monday morning. So that's what you
The smell of hot, wet, burnt garbage. I'll bet that smells.
It is an experience.
We were looking from go back a picture from one of those gates in the other image and looking in. Terry said, "Oh, it looks like we lost a couple of letters." You know, he's got the A, B, C, D, and I can't remember what letters were burned.
It's like V, W, X. I
Like
think
the only
need to be
casualty
replaced.
that I could see was the letters. Like of all the things that that I thought we lost, that's it. It was super impressive. Terry said to me as we were chatting in one of those bay doors that afternoon, he said, "We built this thing to be bulletproof." And I said, "Well, I think it is bulletproof, but I think you built it to be fireproof." And he really did a great job, certainly in the construction. And I think all of our gratitude and praise to your crews, because Saturday night and Sunday all day was not an easy shift.
It wasn't. Yeah,
But,
there's a lot of water
Yeah,
that needed to be pushed out and directed, and
There
a lot of
was a lot of
sweeping,
water.
and
Yeah.
so that's just part of what we do.
yeah.
So, but thank you.
So maybe for the mayor and council's understanding, we had crews respond from Provo, Lehigh, American Fork, Springville, Mapleton, Woodland Hills, Elk Ridge, Payson, Utah County, Santaquin, and Orem. So including us, that's 12 jurisdictions that participated in some way. And because of the length of the time of this firefight, we were cycling through people. They would go in for a certain amount of time, and they get in under those intense circumstances. They get tired, and so we actually just rotated people out, and you tap them out and send them home and call in the next team. Right. We sent a couple of people for observation. I think one individual from one of these jurisdictions ended up at the hospital for an hour or so, but was home before. I think he was home from the hospital before all of the crews left here. So that's great. And had some heat exhaustion. I can't remember the temperature that day, but I feel like it was close to 100.
It was over 100, so it was 100 on the outside and
200 on the inside.
And the inside
Yeah.
plus.
So anyway, just an incredible effort, certainly by everybody, but especially by your people, and thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great service to our community. We love that we have this here, and even Jack, when he tries to start fires, he doesn't have to wait in line. It's a significant upgrade from what we used to have, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Again, Terry, it's one of those things we've said before, but not too many cities say, "Yeah, let's put the transfer station in my city." But
That's
you've made it the correct decision for the city and for the district, and so we appreciate you being such a good leader of that facility and just running a good facility in our city.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's a good place.
So
Terry, I got a question for you.
Yes,
so
okay.
you've been in this business for a while.
I have.
What would a fire of this magnitude have looked like at the old transfer station?
Oh, it would have been a disaster, total disaster. So, we were lucky when we did have a fire over in Springville. It was on the outside because we had so much trash. At that time, everything was more on the outside than the inside. They would only push it in when they could load it in the compactor. And so that was a blaze next to the truck stop. And that was a much bigger fire than this one was. But our challenge was visibility. We couldn't see where the fire was actually out until we could remove the smoke. And so once the smoke was gone, within 30 minutes, the fire was out. So we learned some lessons. That's what you're supposed to do. We've talked about some changes that we're going to look at. Some things worked that were supposed to. Some things didn't work the way they were supposed to. But so we've learned lessons. We've now had training to all of the employees since then. So we can continue to improve. And we'll do so.
Well done.
So, thank you.
Well, with no interruption of a super important service for all of us and all the residents, it's well worth of a round of applause for Terry. So please join me in doing that. Pete's not going to let you get out of here.
He's so close. I thought you were going to sprint.
Yeah, in addition to this, Terry's a beloved Salem resident. He's participating in the Salem Days celebration right now, and does a lot for that community. The boat regatta.
Thanks, Terry.
Maybe one more thing about Jack. Today we had a fire just outside the library. Somebody put a cigarette in the garbage can, and we checked the tape, and it wasn't Jack, so that's good.
Off the hook
But
there.
you're being serious. That happened today.
Yeah. Scott, the librarian, was on his phone with 911, and the can's on fire, right? It's just out here in the parking lot. And 80 South Main. Yes, the library. It's got the water going. It's in the garbage can. He's telling dispatch what to do, and he's got this cookie tin. I don't know where he got a cookie tin from, but they filled it full of water, went outside, put it on the fire in the garbage can, and put it out. And the firefighters were really disappointed when they got there. Come on, we wanted to put it out. So
Tin of water.
Scott the librarian is now Scott the firefighter.
Yeah, let's get him a tag.
I'm sure he's going to ask for something tomorrow in our meeting. But it wasn't Jack. He was not here.
He was at the
Fair
transfer
enough.
station.
Fair enough. Yep.
He was walking.
We don't
Baby
know
Kid.
where he was.
He was walking Baby Kid.
Okay. Is that early? Thank you for those recognitions. Good people, good folks, and we appreciate highlighting every single one of them. Moves us on to item number 4 in our agenda, the public comment section. This is a section where anybody from the public could come address the mayor and council. Please keep it to 3 minutes. Jack is here, not at the where else, and he'll help us with the time if we can keep to it. Yes, name, rank, and serial number.
Chad Argal, Spanish Fork citizen. I don't have serial number.
Social Security's fine.
Yeah. Wait, was it?
Bank account
Like
and
that
mother's
in my-
maiden name.
My card number. First of all, I just want to say absolutely thank you for a celebration, and not just to the council, because I know it takes the entire city to be a part of this, and you know how I love the 24th. And I was on a parade and had some fellow classmates on there, and every time a lot of them were Spanish Fork citizens a long time ago. Couldn't believe how many people come to this parade to see it. And I was like, Spanish Fork, that's what we do. But thank you, because I know your efforts takes a lot. Stacy, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Celebration of our 250th. I had the opportunity to graduate from high school in 1976. I will tell you that after a year and a half of celebrating, I was really tired of red, white, and blue, because everything was red, white, and blue. Cups from the Dairy Queen and everything else. But by the time we'd reached the celebration, it had been going on for a year and a half. Lucky to be here at 2026, 250th anniversary. I think about how proud I am to be an American. I wonder when that Declaration of Independence was sent to King George. He wouldn't read it, he wouldn't allow Parliament to read it, and he hired the German Hessians to come to America and kill the Patriots. And that took place. Looking back, I wonder if maybe he would have read that. It wasn't a declaration of war, it was just declaring some grievances and asking us to be allowed to independently take care of ourselves as 13 colonies. Of course, later on, we know the story and how it ends. Becomes the United States of America. I have a gift here for each one of the council, and I don't want anybody else to be jealous, but I thought that maybe because it's the 250th anniversary, you guys deserved something just to show that you served. I have a mint set from the United States Mint. It is from the Delaware and the Philadelphia Mint. One unique thing about this is, you know, that the penny went away in 2025, but in 2026 they put it in the mint sets and the proof sets. That penny's been selling for $325. I'm pretty sure the mayor would say that's a pretty good investment. So anyway, I wanted to do this. I've been excited about coming this because I've had these sets for a while, but every time you guys scheduled council meeting, I had something else scheduled. So if I may approach.
Please. Yeah, please. Gifts?
No.
Gifts?
Please stay away.
I think that's funny that every time you scheduled a meeting, as if you didn't know the schedule.
And if he's not retired, like, what's he doing?
Driving through roundabouts and
That was so thoughtful.
I've collected these coins since I was 12 years old, so this is
the,
a cool thing. And
I want to open it.
Yep.
I don't think I'll make it to the next 50 years, because that's a long time away. But something to remember that, you know, I was here during the 250th anniversary.
that's,
Thank you.
That
Thank
is
you for
really
your
nice
time
of
and
you.
service.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Councilman
Chad.
Argyle. Appreciate that.
you're not supposed to open them.
Yes, I am. Everybody wants to see them.
Too late.
Now did it just,
she's going straight to Wendover with them.
Kills me.
Oh, so, yeah, it has a penny, has Sacagawea dollar, has a penny, has a Sacagawea dollars. They made 5 quarters for the celebration.
oh, now you want to see it?
Every one of them, the dime, the penny, the only thing that didn't change too much was the nickel, but every one of them has 250 on it, so.
That's pretty cool.
Wow, so I
Thank you,
shouldn't
Chad.
spend these, I should keep them.
Don't spend it.
No, open them up. Are you gonna have one?
Let's do a
I'm
coin
just
toss.
kidding.
Yeah, keepsake.
Thank you, Chad. That's
Thanks, Chad.
super
It's super
thoughtful.
nice of you.
Thank you.
Very cool.
That is
That
cool.
is very cool. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? You don't have to bring gifts for public comment.
But they're appreciated.
I appreciate that because empty pockets. Alan Westman, private citizen. I have 3 shout-outs to make and then just one speaking to an upcoming agenda item. I'll try to be quick. First off, I am a regular user of the Poplar Lane Trailhead and really appreciate the folks who take care of the restrooms there, keep them clean. They're almost always in good order and maintained, and really appreciate that. It means a lot, so thank you. I think Parks and Rec, I think, is who deserves that.
That's Carrie.
Second thing is rodeo. I have longtime Spanish Fork resident, but first time attending the rodeo this year. And I know that raises some eyebrows, but I'll admit it. Anyways, it was a wonderful experience. Very much enjoyed it, and so kudos to all those who took part in putting that on. Also, recently attended for the first time one of the Chamber of Commerce business networking events, and that was well organized and so forth. And so just again, a shout out generally to the Spanish Fork Salem Chamber of Commerce. And then finally, speaking to an upcoming agenda item for this meeting is, I know that there's talk about data centers and so forth, and data centers are a very politically charged topic right now. I am a software engineer by profession. We rely on distributed computing that happens in data centers and so forth. When I think about data centers, companies that want to bring a data center to our area, here are the general kinds of questions that I'm looking to ask. First off is, and I share this because I expect that you also have the same kind of questions, but I want to express as a citizen what comes to my mind. That is the company's credibility. Are they transparent and fulsome in their details? Do they have a good track record of building data centers in other communities and operating them? What are the physics of the that they're claiming? Does it make sense what they're claiming about energy in and the thermal energy, the heat coming out? It's transforming a bunch of electrons into useful computations, but also a bunch of waste heat. What's happening with that? And then community impacts. What is the resource usage? What are the noise impacts, any traffic, that kind of stuff? Those are my concerns. I recognize that data centers may be important, but we have to be very cautious and careful in how we ask questions about that. Make sure we get good answers. Thank you.
And ask a thermodynamic question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Definitely. Anyone else?
Hey, hi, my name is Tara Parker, and I'm a Spanish Fork resident, and I'm here tonight wearing 2 different hats. I'm a board member for the Spanish Fork Community Theater, and then I am also an advocate and community liaison for the Ruth, the former Hale Center Theater Orem. And I wanted to start by thanking Spanish Fork City, our Parks and Rec Department, and the people of Spanish Fork for helping us make our Fiesta Days production of The Prince of Egypt such a big success. With more than 150 cast and crew members, which was our biggest yet, and record-breaking ticket sales, it's very clear that the arts are thriving and doing well in our community. And then switching over to my Ruth hat, many of you know that the Ruth recently opened in Pleasant Grove. And as a community advocate, I work to strengthen connections between the Ruth and our community and also provide the county with opportunities in the arts. Since opening, the Ruth has distributed thousands of complimentary ticket vouchers throughout Utah County, including right here in Spanish Fork. We really enjoyed partnering with the city's Easter egg hunt, working with Arts Council and our local schools and many of our local businesses like the dance studios and places like that. In addition to our world-class productions, we also offer, or the Ruth also offers performing arts classes and community programs. So, on behalf of the Ruth and our new City Spotlight initiative, we'd like to invite City Council to come to either Scarlet Pimpernel or Pride and Prejudice and experience the beautiful new theater. And I'll send out the ticketing information and details via the council email. And our city's Spotlight Week is August 17th through 22nd. And I gave Jack a graphic, oh, there it is, a graphic and a ticket code that we can share with all of our residents so they can come and experience it. I know we have a lot of crossover. Some of our SFCT actors have gone on to be in productions there as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for all you do for the arts in our community, and listening to all these stories tonight, I'm pretty happy to be a resident here too. So thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Tara, I went and saw the Scarlet Pimpernel last Wednesday. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, good.
And I went
good.
to lunch with someone that lives in Pleasant Grove today, and I told her, "Oh, I was just over at the Ruth." She goes, "What's the Ruth?" I'm like, well, "You passed it to drive here. You live in Pleasant Grove. What is it?" So I think it's very good that you're out advocating, and we're so lucky to have something so close to us. It's so incredible and beautiful inside, and I highly encourage, if you haven't been there, take advantage of this discount and go check it out. The acting is so well done.
Good,
So-
good. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
The Ruth is awesome. It is awesome.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, my wife and I had recently watched the play. Oh boy, If I Was a Rich Man, Fiddler on the Roof. We watched it at another place, and it was great. And then we watched it at the Ruth, and it was incredible. I mean, this was 6 months ago, I think, that we watched, but it was like they had a little bit of a spin on it that we hadn't seen before, and it was fantastic. And we've watched a couple of plays there as well, and are planning on going to Pride and Prejudice, and are super excited.
Awesome.
I wonder if Mr. Darcy will actually get married this time. I don't know.
It's a cliffhanger. We'll see.
Yeah, great job. It's a great theater.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to them. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tara, for coming. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to council comments. Been a minute since we did this. I don't. What you were here at the last meeting. Which way did you go? We don't want to go the same way.
She just randomly called out her name.
Oh, she doesn't know.
She just
Okay.
yelled at us. It's fine.
Councilman Took, you all right if we start on that end and head down this way?
Sure,
Is
you
that
bet.
okay?
Yeah.
All right, Councilman Took.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple items, but I'll move quickly so we all have some time here this evening. But good evening, Spanish Fork. It's great to be back. It's been a minute. So, a couple things. First off, the Public Works Building Design Committee that I'm able to serve on is moving forward. It's fun to see that come together. Our Public Works division is in dire need of a facility that brings them all together and better serves our community. So, just to give you a quick update, that's looking great and exciting. More to come. Also, we had a fun, and I'll kind of bounce around a little bit with a couple announcements, but the Chamber of Commerce had a really fun couple ribbon cuttings, grand openings. One of them that stuck out to me was, and I might have a picture, and Jack, oh good. So this was Blue Unicorn. They're located by Coin Craze, if you know it's part of the city I'm talking about, back behind Target a little bit. They're Wendy's. Blue Unicorn, they're kind of fun protein puff bar. Anyway, they had an amazing grand opening. They had a unicorn, and they had alpacas, llamas. They had all sorts of fun things. But it was an amazing new business add to our community, and it's exciting to see things like this come to Spanish Fork because they want to be here, a part of our community, and experience the goodness that we are all been talking about this evening. So that was one that stuck out to me. And then also, just an update. It's been a minute since we had the Miss Utah pageant, but we have so much representation from Spanish Fork. So these gals are all former Miss Spanish Forks that have competed and just competed in Miss Utah. You've got a couple to name a few. You've got Callie McGuire there in the picture, Hope King. Hope actually at Miss Utah came in first runner-up, and if you don't know much about Miss Utah, that's an exceptional accomplishment. And she's actually won another title just last weekend to go back and compete again at Miss Utah next year. You can tell I get a little excited about these things because my sister was in this and I got involved decades ago. But anyway, fun to see Spanish Fork represented on the state stage, and Hope will actually go to the national, it's called the Sweethearts Pageants for all the first runner-ups at the state level, and so she'll compete and represent our state and kind of Spanish Fork too on that national stage. Just super exciting. So fun things happening with the Miss Spanish Fork organization. Went to a really great new business opening as well with Councilman Euler. I'll let him talk a little more about it, but it was for Wheeler Machinery. It's been a little while, but that was incredible. I don't have any pictures. I think you may. I hope so. At least I didn't grab any, but the most amazing new business I've seen added to our community since I've served on council. Absolutely mind-blowing. So I'll give some time to you to do that if you want. I won't say much about Fiesta Days because others will, especially Councilwoman Beck, but just one or two highlights from me. Absolutely loved the Hall of Fame event that kicked off Fiesta Days. I thought the car show was phenomenal. So many new entries, such a larger production than it had been in years past. That was fun to see. And then my favorite event is on the last day, which is the Mr. and Mrs. Extraordinaire pageant, which I was able to judge and just touches my heart every year, more and more. It's amazing how that's come and grown and become a big part of Fiesta Days. And even at the very end of Fiesta Days too, Councilman Euler and I, we had a class reunion that we were able to somehow put together. We were exhausted, but we survived it. So that was kind of fun.
Was that the same as Chad's?
That was, 76, yeah.
Close.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Feels the same to me. It was 30 years after your class.
Another fun Chamber of Commerce announcement. We had the Bank of Utah ribbon cutting. They're over there kind of by Popeye's Chicken. Great new add to the community. And I'm sure others will mention this as well too. Happy and sad, more happy than sad to see Del Robinson, our director of Parks and Recreation, retire, but we have Bronco now, and excited to hear from him and watch him grow in the role, but definitely loved working with Dale and wish him all the best. One last thing here I just wanted to share. Our president of the Chamber of Commerce, she could not be with us this evening, but she had 3 things she wanted me to quickly relay to the city and the council, so I'd just like to share these with you all. So tomorrow, August 5th at noon, the Chamber community is celebrating Hillcrest Bank's rebrand to Vista Bank. So we're going Hillcrest Bank to Vista Bank. And I went to a meeting earlier this morning that talked about what that's going to look like, and there'll be swig drinks there and all sorts of fun things. Anyway, if you'd like to come by, you're invited. So tomorrow at noon, Vista Bank. And then also, the farmers market kicked off last Saturday, just outside here in the parking lot, just west of our buildings where we're at. And, if this is something you haven't experienced yet in Spanish Fork, please do it. It's amazing, the farmers and those vendors who show up and what they sell and what they produce. Absolutely incredible. So that was our first event, and just right there in the Spanish Fork City Hall parking lot. It'll be every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Through the end of October. So please come see us. I promise it will impress you. It's amazing. They sell everything. It's incredible. And then just one last message from the Chamber of Commerce to the city, particularly City Council. They wanted me to let you know that they say we collectively and are so grateful for the city and the city staff too, for allowing us to use the space for the farmers market. We deeply appreciate it and are excited to share the delicious hard works of the community. And again, that's all those farmers and producers of amazing things that we can showcase for our city. It's a mouthful. That's all I've got. Trying to move along.
Sorry, that's starting in August, right? The farmers market
Started last Saturday. Last Saturday.
Oh, so it's already going?
First one, and then we're every Saturday now until the end of October.
They tore the carnival down and put the thing up.
Yeah, they were down, and
cool.
One thing after next. Yeah.
Very good.
Landon, on the Vista Bank, is it at 11 or 12? For some reason, I have down 11.
11. Let me confirm.
I can
Kathleen
also
said
confirm.
12, but
Okay.
I'll double check and.
All right,
let
I
you
can
know.
double check with her too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give an update if so.
Be there at 11. Get some refreshments.
Get a swig.
Yeah, get a swig.
Okay.
Starts at 12. Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Councilman Took. Appreciate that. Councilman Cardon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll only talk about a few things from Fiesta Days as well. The first was the Pyro Musical. Such a cool event that started out from citizens just kind of putting it together. But I have to say that the start of the fireworks, specifically the music selection, was phenomenal. Wouldn't you agree, Seth?
It was incredible.
Yeah, good. Okay, just making sure. You're on the same page. Okay. With that, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt was phenomenal. If you didn't get to see it, I am sorry for you. What a cool cast. Thank you for talking about it, being a part of it. As I served on the Arts Council, they were talking it up, and I didn't think it was going to live up to the hype, but it did, and it surpassed it. Just as an FYI, next year they'll be doing Finding Nemo, so something a little bit more kids. It's actually a shorter version, and it'll be really fun to see that happen. Thank you to all the staff that make Fiesta Days happen. I think there's a lot of volunteers that go into that, and thank you to them as well, but our staff, I think our police department, they didn't look exhausted. They looked past exhausted, so I don't know the word for it, but they were there by the end. But thank you to everyone, because I know it's not just the police officers. Our finance team is doing things, our Parks and Rec, our Public Works, everybody is involved in making things happen, so thank you. Also, we've received a lot of emails recently of praises or even text messages of praises for the city, and so I just wanted to mention a few of them. I received a picture of the Sierra Park from a landscaper in town, and he said, rarely do you see cities that have crisp lines and no weeds in their big fields. So that was awesome. We received an email of somebody who unfortunately had to plan a funeral talking about how awesome our staff was at the cemetery and making them feel heard and seen. I received a thank you from someone talking about the Fit City Center, talking about how awesome it is that they have moved the treadmills to the hallway and opened up that space because they felt like they could work out a little bit more. And then there was a thank you to our city planner saying, thank you for planning such a good city. I know that some of that's happened before you, Dave, but I thought that was an awesome thing and something to shout out. So,
did you just say something that happened before him?
Yeah.
He's been here 20 years.
60. I'm just kidding. No, you know what I meant. Thanks, Shane. But with that, just we have the best staff in the state for sure. Thank you from Seth to everyone and all that you do, because it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for what you do. That's all I got, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman Cardon. Councilman Euler.
Thank you, Mayor. Got a few board meetings coming up this week and next, and so I'll report back on those at our next council meeting. Councilman Took mentioned the Wheeler ribbon cutting, which was excellent. It felt like that was a long time ago, which it kind of was. It was back in June, so I did do a report on that in our last council meeting, which you were out of town for. So, but yeah, that was a great ribbon cutting, great business to have in town. Just echoing Fiesta Days and everybody that participated in that, everybody that worked and helped make all of those events take place. Councilwoman Beck, you do an amazing job every year on that committee, putting together the right volunteers, the right amount of people, and I'm sure you'll speak to that. Just want to mention as well, just the gratitude towards our police department for the work that they put in that week. I walk with my family from my house over to the Pyro Musical, and there's a police officer working, making sure people don't go where they're not supposed to go. I'm getting ready for the parade, and I see police officers putting barriers out in the road to make sure that cars don't go where they're not supposed to go. I'm going to the rodeo, and there's officers in the middle of the street making sure people can get back and forth safely. So all of these things that I'm able to go and do and enjoy as a family, and I recognize that there are officers that are having to work while we're all out enjoying those things. And so we recognize the sacrifices that our officers make during that week as they, as Councilman Cardin mentioned, they put in a lot of hours. And so, Chief, thank you. If you could thank your staff for us as well. We recognize them and are grateful for what they do. Couple other things just quickly, and I don't expect answers to these tonight from staff, but there have been a couple of items that we've received emails on and that have floated around with residents that have concerns or questions, things that they are likely hoping to get addressed in one way or another. Again, no need to respond to this tonight, but maybe that we can add this to future discussion. One of them we've discussed a little bit with Parks and Rec Department, and that's the outdoor pool, the hours at the outdoor pool. Families requesting, individuals requesting that more nights be made available. So I know, just want the residents that are watching to know that we have discussed that. We are looking at ideas, trying to improve that, make that better for the entire community. So that's not something that's being ignored. I can tell you right now that our staff at the Fit City Center and our Parks and Recs Department are very aware of that and looking for ways to make possible changes there. Another update that I would like to get at some point, I know we've received questions and concerns about the back parking lot at the Fit City Center and the noise, especially during the summertime, that takes place back there, some of the residents that have concerns. We have put in place some changes with cameras and other things. I'd be curious to know just what the results are from that, any successes, improvements that have occurred over the last few months as we've discussed those issues as well. So those are the two items that come to mind that I'd love to have future discussions on. Outside of that, I think that's all I had tonight, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman Euler. Appreciate that. Councilwoman Beck.
I love hearing everyone's perspective about Fiesta Days, and I don't want to monopolize that by any means, so thank you. It's fun to hear everyone's different version and vision of what it should be, and this was my 11th Fiesta Days, overseeing it as a council member, and I've got to say it just gets better and better. I think the kinks are just getting ironed out every year, and they're figuring out just how to get it to our residents more seamlessly. And this year, I didn't feel like there were many hiccups. We have a group text, Bronco and I are both on that with our committee, and we have an exceptional executive committee that volunteers. They're at every single event, and their vision of what they wanted to see happen was executed so well. And I'm just proud of everyone. The employees, I know you guys have talked a lot about our police department, our city employees as a whole, especially our Parks and Rec Department, then all of the volunteers, you City Council, Miss Spanish Fork, just so many people. I never have, well, maybe once, I have never been able to make it to the community theater because it's such a busy time and I'm exhausted by the end. And I kept hearing about the Prince of Egypt, you've got to go. And so on Saturday, I finally went, and I was so glad I went. It was phenomenal. Yeah, it was really good. So I think going to that was a highlight. Also, the car show, biggest car show yet. We had 224 cars ended up registering, so that was a really big show. Great cars, super fun. I liked that it was also the 25th of July. It just gave you room to do that day, and I didn't have to be down there at noon or 1. I could go at 9 a.m. when it was a little cooler. So just lots of fabulous things. So thank you everybody for participating, and we will be having our debrief meeting in a couple weeks and figure out what didn't work and what can we do better next year. So thanks again.
Beautiful. Great
I
job.
wanted to add, with the Chamber of Commerce, Jesse and I was able to go to Business of the Month on Friday afternoon. It was at Squad Cabin. Squad Cabin is next to the smaller Walmart on the east side of town, a little closer to Jesse and I's house. Jesse had eaten there before. I hadn't. I just thought we're going to run in and do a quick little Business of the Month. But they fed everyone lunch, so we spent an hour there. That food is phenomenal. It's Indian and Indo-Chinese cuisine. Every single thing we ate was fabulous, right? Highly recommend it. They do takeout, dine-in, great service, delicious food. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. That's all.
And Business of the Month.
Yep, Business of the Month.
Very cool. Thank you, Councilwoman Beck. Councilman Marshall.
It's fun to go last.
Yes.
Ditto everything what everybody said. Fiesta Days was amazing. It always is, and you're right. The staff and the just everywhere you turn, there's a staff member just like put it in the time, right? Sweat running down their face, whatever it might be. Horse stuff on their boots, whatever it might be. Like they're there to put the work in and do the job, and it's amazing every single year. And I think you're right, Stacy. It's gotten better and better every year, and it's because of the incredible community that we live in. And it's, every time we talk about an investment somewhere, we talk about the reason to invest is to bring the community together. And this is one of those times where it just feels right? You're walking down your little main street, and when I was growing up, we had a place in the park where we sat every single time, and you didn't need to go there. You could get there 5 minutes before the park, and the Marshall space was there. You can't do that now, right? You're there the day before, sweating, holding your place. Matt's group is like, all right, guys, don't leave your spot. Like, it's a different community, but it's still small. It still feels small on that day or this last week. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for the volunteers. Thanks for the city staff. I can't imagine having to wear the garb that your group has to wear, Chief. Like my nephew is an officer over in Salem, and he comes over and he'd finished his shift, and he's got his jacket on, his vest, and he pops that thing off, and he's just dripping wet. Like, man, that is rough. But thank you for them. Their presence makes a difference, and you can feel it. You feel the comfort. There are a lot of people around, so I appreciate that. And just, again, can't say more good things about the way staff handles that week. So congratulations. Nice job. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I won't try to piggyback too much on what's been said, except in reference of what Councilman Cardin said, the opening of the Pyro Musical, if you weren't listening, that was a song that I know well and that some people of my era know well. Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine, part of the Evil Empire album, comes out in 1996. And I'm getting a head nod back here. It's a fellow rocker back there. And in 1996, I was 16 years old. Mayor Marie Huff was the mayor of this fine city. And she came pulling into Alan Huff's driveway, which was a relative and my good friend, and you know Alan. And she asked, "What are you guys doing today?" And we both looked at each other. Don't say we're going to the concert. Come up with anything else. But that's where we were going, was to the concert. And she probably knew it, kind of, because she said, "We ought to go to the concert. It's going to be okay." And it was okay. September 11th, 2026 is going to be 30 years. I'm leaving it up to Bronco to try to get the reunion tour put together. It's going to be tough, but they're not a band anymore. But, part of that is, if you're listening to what that is, that's an accident, a happy accident that happened in our city that it was is now in the annals of history. But I gauge what I do in government sometimes, and by the way, I think they were probably speaking ill of government. If you want to listen to Bulls on Parade, do it without kids, or get the edited track of it. But I try to gauge things in 16 years of service, of not that long, 13 years of service, of maybe don't rage against the machine. We had a pretty big concerns and worries when that incident happened here, and what happened were a couple of tickets, if I remember right, Chief. So law enforcement, again, it's already been said how good they are and have been, but they were great that day too, to let a bunch of kids run around and run into each other and probably use a lot of rough language, and then they gave out 2 tickets, and the town didn't burn down. Like, what was worried about? It was worried about looting, burning down, and what was going to happen. But this is a Southern California band that went all over the country and toured for years and years and is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they played in Spanish Fork, so it's actually pretty cool. So anyway, it was cool to have that start out that firework episode, the Pyro musical, and credit again to Mike Clayson of Pacific Horizon. He's been here already before, but they raise a ton of money to do that. So it's pretty cool that businesses participate, make that happen, and everybody comes together to listen to some good music. But it started out with some really good music this year. So very cool stuff. The Grand Marshals, the Lydiards were awesome. The social media team, Jack, your team of releasing and keeping people updated, it sure felt fresh that if you didn't know what was going on, you should have known because we were telling you what was going on. So good comms out to everybody, and I thought everybody had a good time. The rodeo was awesome, as it always is. Thank you, everybody, for coming and packing that house. And many contestants, many people come after the rodeo or during the rodeo to Seth and I that get to sit in some of those different parts of it and let us know how much they appreciate the Fiesta Days Rodeo and the behind-the-scenes part of it, too, the way we take care of families and contestants and those people that are traveling the road all summer to try to win not a lot of money, honestly. It's crazy if they're into that gig, but they are, and they are for our entertainment. They're in it for the love. The Austins are going to do great, but they won't make it a lot of money on it. But it's fun to watch, and that was fun to be with everybody. Last thing I'll have is I sent Jack some pictures of the county fair. The Mendenhalls were intimately involved in the county fair this year because I've got a brother who won't let up of my 9-year-old Jagger having some culture in the agriculture sphere. And so this was his first year competing in the pig showing stuff. Bronco Hunter knows about this as well. The whole Hunter family is a big name down there. But Jag took 7th in his class, got a great, that's a pig whip there, Shane, that's what that's called, a pig whip. You use it to whip pigs. And then an IFA gift card there.
Did Jagger tell you that? Is that how you knew?
No, I watched it. I watched it happen. Who do you think taught him that? That buckle's huge. But so fun to watch the kids and his cousins do this down at the county fair that happened right after Fiesta Days. And again, I've said it before, but if you think agriculture or the Western way or farming is dying in Spanish Fork, you need to put down your phone and you need to go to a place like this and see how healthy it is. It is healthy, it's growing, and it's an economic indicator as well. These businesses that support that, so cool to see all the banners up and kids from all over the state competing. And my brother Tyler says it best, you're raising kids, not animals. I think Bronco would attest to that with his family, but it's sure fun to see these kids do their thing and congratulate each other. So thank you to Utah County for your partnership during Fiesta Days and then with the county fair after. We've already talked about it again, but a lot of investment, the public money going into that facility down there to make it an even better facility next year. I'm excited to see all that transpires down there going forward into the future. So very cool stuff. One last thing before we get on to much, and she could have been part of this recognition parade that we just had here, but I want to bring her up now and tell her thanks and give her a minute to address us as well. There's comes a time in service that that you serve a term and then you do your thing and move on. And this is kind of a person that we're like, man, we hope she never moves on. But it's her time to move on, and we appreciate her service. David, is that something you'd like to take from here to recognize an outgoing commissioner?
Oh, I do need to save a little bit for tomorrow night, so I'll be pretty
She's coming
quick.
back. Okay, good.
Shauna's going to be with us for one more planning commission meeting, and she has been an absolute rock. She's gone to trainings outside of the planning commission meetings. She learned very, very early on in her service about how to contribute and how to engage in different discussions and that type of a thing. And, that's probably how I would describe what she's done for the community as a planning commissioner. She has contributed, and there have been some fairly weighty things that have been discussed over the course of the past now more than 6 years while she served as a planning commissioner. There's some work that still isn't done, and I'll commit to keep her posted on how some things progress. But we've been really fortunate over the years to have had some great planning commissioners, and she's right there with the best of them. And I mean that she's going to be missed. So it's great to see people have the opportunity to serve, and it's sad to get to this point and have to kind of say goodbye in one regard. So I appreciate the opportunity to share that. And again, just Shauna, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. Shauna, will you come up and let us give you a round of applause and say a few words?
That's so kind. I love Spanish Fork, and it's when I had been on the library board many years ago when my kids were small, and I got another call from to meet with Mayor Leifson about 6.5 years ago, and went and sat down with him, and he said, "We'd like to invite you to be on the Planning Commission." And I said, "Sure, I have no idea what that is." But I love to help, and I love to be involved in Spanish Fork City because it's just awesome people and a great place to be. And I just love to be a contributor and learn, and just, this is awesome. And boy, nothing strengthens your backbone like being on the Planning Commission and the school board. And so it's been a great experience for me. So thank you for the privilege. Thank you to all of you who get to serve and keep serving. So what a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. I appreciate your service. Jack, can you get a picture if Shauna stands up in front of us right here? I think we lost Pete for a minute, but Jesse, you might have something to say after we get a picture.
That's okay.
Did you sit on Planning Commission with her? Right here, right in front. Picture of this stuff.
We'll have to light a fire under Jack. Jack, be nimble. Jack, be quick. Is that what you're saying? Jack, jump over the candlestick if it's lit.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
Mayor, I don't know that this is a highlight for Shauna, but man, it sure was a highlight for me. This
she's leaving? You're not.
No,
Oh.
sorry. That was a preposition. This memory I have, Shauna, we were in the old council chamber, so this is probably 4 or 5 years old, probably within the first year or two of your service. But there was some developer or some issue, I can't remember what it was, but the applicant was really pushing hard on something and getting kind of belligerent and rude. And I remember watching how Shauna handled that with such grace, and how she just stood what her position or ground was, and holding firm to what she believed was important, and not buckling to whatever I probably describe as a bullyish type behavior. I don't know if you remember this. You probably have a few of these memories. But I remember watching that and just thinking, that's a rock star right there. And you have a few other things that you do where you get to experience the public in those settings and issues that are tough. But man, handling those tough issues as a volunteer, like you guys at least ran for it. We get, we're staff members too. That's totally different than somebody who got called in by the mayor and said, "Hey, will you come do something that you know nothing about?" And then you have to deal with stuff like that. It's always impressive, and you did it with such grace and knowledge. So great job. Thank you.
I had the opportunity to serve on the planning commission with Shauna, and one of the things that I always appreciate about Shauna is that she always had Spanish Fork as a whole, their best in mind. It didn't matter what the issue was, what was happening. She was worried about everyone in Spanish Fork and making sure we made the right decision. And it included what you just said, Seth, is it was calling a spade and saying, "Hey, let's back off here. Let's settle down." And there were a couple of times where it got heated, but she was always good about de-escalating those situations, but also asking really, really good questions and tough questions of those applicants coming in and making sure that we got what was best for Spanish Fork. I'm going to miss having you on the planning commission. Thank you for your service.
Very good. That's a loss for the planning commission, and like Dave said, a rotational thing. But we can still be sad about losing you, Shauna, and we know you're not going far. You serve very well on our school board and serve on other committees and volunteer ways too. So we know we're not losing you fully, but we appreciate really your service for so many years on the planning commission. Good stuff. Okay, next on the agenda is staff reports.
Yeah, Mayor, just a couple of quick ones. Number one, what was your favorite memory from the rodeo?
This year?
Yeah, anything with like animals or zoo animals?
No zoo animals, but
what do you mean no zoo animals? I feel like there's some tigers and bears.
Yeah, sometimes. Landon brought it up. It was a pretty cool year to put Joe Butler into the Hall of Fame. It was pretty cool. You're not supposed to see cowboys, especially ones that are dumb enough and tough enough to get in front of bulls like that, get emotional. But Joe Butler got emotional. I'll just say it on the record, record it. Joe Butler got emotional about being in the Hall of Fame and probably hanging up a long career of doing what he did. And so I thought that was really cool. He's a friend of mine, and for him to get that honor was
I think he
was fun to
cried
be-
more there than he did when his wrist was sideways, his nose was upside down, his eye was falling out.
Never seen him cry with that stuff. Yep.
So one of my favorite memories was the mayor coming over to me and saying, "Hey, Bear and Tiger Bachmeyer are sitting right over there. We need to get them into the rodeo." And I'm like, "Mayor, come on." And he's like, "No, let's go." So the mayor and I trot on up to Bear and Tiger, and he coaxes them out of the stands onto the arena floor to participate in our, what we might call a halftime show as we're getting ready for the motorcycles to jump. It was really fun, and they were super gracious. And the crowd, of course, loved it that night. But that was fun to watch the mayor kind of do his thing. He totally flexed the mayor card. Like, "Look, guys, you got to do it. I'm the mayor. I'm here asking. You can't turn me down.
We'll pull you over on the way out."
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the end of the world for you. There's no NIL in it for you. I'm the mayor. This is all free. You can write it off as a tax deduction later. And whatever he did, he got him out there. We had 10 minutes with him on the arena floor. Last time we met, it was right after the 4th of July. I think our 24th of July fireworks experience was just the same. I'm going to look maybe to you, Matt. We don't have Chief Hales here, but it seems like fireworks over the 24th was pretty much the same, if not a little bit less in terms of actual fires that we fought. I know our fire crews responded to some mutual aid fires in neighboring jurisdictions. But is that how you observed it with the calls that you guys saw?
No incidents, no citations issued. So big shout out to the residents and being responsible. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. Any feedback that you guys have or that you received in regards to allowing fireworks? Again, we weren't necessarily as maverick as maybe we were on the 4th of July, but we were still somewhat unique in Utah County.
Just one thing I would add is I feel like it was such a success because, in large part, because of the communication team, Jack's team, and their presence on social media and really informing, and they did some fun, creative campaigns, and I felt like that went a long way in the map. Anyway,
A lot of gratitude from residents that we allowed it, that we kind of stuck with. They loved the fact that we were already in a spot where our restrictive map was basically it was already made before this, and we just stuck with it because they already knew where they could rely on before, but then that we were able to still do that. they wanted me to thank the mayor and Chief Hells for going with that.
Perfect, thank you. Any other comments on fireworks? Okay. Well, thank you. We have started the demolition of the Willie Barn, which is the large indoor arena just behind the outdoor arena where we have the rodeo, and that project is underway to rebuild that arena to a slightly bigger, but more specifically a safer standard. The building and structure itself is I don't know, it might be as old as, it's not as old as the country, but it's older than the memories that Chad was sharing. So it's pretty old. It's going to be a pretty intense project. We're going to take it down and rebuild it before next year's stock show, which I think is mid-April, if I'm getting my dates right, somewhere in 1st of April, mid-April. So it's going to be a pretty big effort to get that thing built and completed, but that's the plan. The contractor's certainly on board with that. So users around the fairgrounds will see that. Users of the fairgrounds certainly know that, because if anybody has rented that facility in the past, there is a blackout for the next many months where they won't use that. So just remind the council of that. That project's underway, and it's a joint project with Utah County. We're grateful for their participation in helping to make that upgrade and that upgrade possible.
Seth, real quick, I know we've talked about timing on that one. Was it determined with the demo, was everything being scrapped, or were there any bleachers or gate panels or gates or anything?
Yeah, anything that we could get out and take out in a timely way, we did. There have been a number of people that have asked, hey, can I come and salvage this? Can I come and harvest that? And the answer has been no. When our experience has been, if somebody says, hey, I'm going to come and get this, we've got a 8-month window that we've got to get this thing done. We don't have any days to spare to allow, let's say it's you to come in, oh, hey, I didn't quite get everything done today. I'll be here back on Monday. Like, there's just no room for that. Yeah. So we'll be able to scrap things, but not salvage it out to somebody who maybe wants to use it in another place. So, yeah. And I know there are a few people that have expressed frustrations about that, but we just don't have the time to turn that around and give that to somebody.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for that question. I want to touch on maybe two quick things that Councilman Euler asked. One, can we have the pool open later for families? This has been something that staff has been talking about a lot. When we opened up this pool, I think a mistake that I made, and I can't go back and remedy that today, but if I could do this one over again, and if I could advise a future city that's going to go through this process again, I would say, because I would say, don't think that everything's going to be just like last time. We had a pool that rented out 2 windows of time, and it was highly popular. In fact, it was, I think almost all rentals were taken by January 5th, opening on January 2nd. Like, it was highly rented at night. So when we opened up the pool, as you guys know, we set up 2 rental periods, an early evening and a later evening. The rental for this facility is different, and most rentals, if not every rental for that pool, has been set for the first time, which is like 7 o'clock, I think. And so we allow for a little bit of a shutdown and then a refresh, and then it opens up for that rental. The majority of the rentals were purchased well before the summer opened, and so when we started to get that feedback of, we want the pool open later, pausing this, we also, with the other pool, we did a lot of research. Scott, the librarian, actually did this research when he was Scott the intern, before he was Scott the firefighter. And we found that very few people came to the pool after 5 o'clock, like new patrons. And so we just didn't earn any new money, right? And so I wrongly carried a lot of that logic from how the pool operated to how we were going to operate this new outdoor pool. So fast forward, we get into this summer, and the patrons are saying, we want later times, and we hear that. Our challenge has been, especially Tuesday through Saturday, that first rental period was for the most part taken on most days. And so to make the pool open later, we'd have to call all of those rentals, cancel those, and frustrate people that are renting it. That's not exactly the way, or exactly the case every night, but it is for most nights, Tuesday through Saturday. And I'll let Bronco kind of fill in some of the blanks here in a sec. But that's one of those things that, you know what, the old pool, I think if I could go back, we would probably say, we're not going to do 2. We're only going to do 1. And staff's already working through some different ways to handle next year because it doesn't work the same, and it shouldn't work the same. It's a totally different machine, totally different beast. So I think you'll see a much better operation in balancing that for next year. And then we are seeing people use this pool, want to use this pool in much different numbers after 5 o'clock than last pool, right? Again, carrying this is how it was last time is not how it's going to be this time. And so we're definitely learning that. Bronco, what else would you add to that?
I'm honestly as much to blame because I was heavily involved in the old pool. And what's crazy about it is, we earmarked Monday nights as family night, and we had extended hours to 8 o'clock. And during my time there, my experience, it didn't get used. And so I actually turned that money at night into rental, 2 slots. And
we started doing swimming lessons at night.
We started doing swimming lessons at night to try to utilize that body of water. And so just appreciate the public's patience as we're trying to learn a new location, a way bigger amenity, and we'll continue to make changes and make it better as it goes. So just appreciate the patience as we learn too the process of running a facility this size.
We're finding. Bronco, I don't think anybody's looking to blame anybody, and so I appreciate you wanting to take that on, right? But yeah, I don't think anybody's wanting to blame anybody for anything.
Have you read Facebook?
We have.
Some may.
And it's okay.
But yeah, no, I appreciate that we're learning through this new process, and I hope the public understands that how it is today doesn't mean that's how it's going to be forever. We can always learn from it and make adjustments going forward. So.
And in the old pool, we could have somebody in the pavilion and somebody in the pool and then switch them out. And so you had an hour and a half to have your barbecue in the pool in the pavilion and then an hour and a half to swim. And that worked out really well. Now you can't have your barbecue and you're swimming in the time block that we have. It just doesn't work. So again, a total retool next year.
Yeah, you didn't have family passes. You didn't. Yeah. It's a whole different system. And so we're learning. I appreciate it was my fault because we all said it makes sense too. But I appreciate the willingness to adapt and change. I mean, it's new to all of us, and I'm with you, Kevin. Like, give us some patience, and we will make some changes and move forward with it. But I'm gonna have to say that the constant "you're a bunch of idiots" on Facebook does not help.
No, not at all.
If you want to talk to us and engage, come here, talk with us. Pick up the phone and give me a call, and let's talk about why this 5-second "you're a bunch of stupid people, you don't know how to run a business" on Facebook doesn't help at all. Not at all. There's some real challenges with it. It's new to all of us, and it gets better every single week.
Yeah.
And it'll get better next year, and we'll learn from it. But goodness gracious.
And I'm me, I'm a rosy eyes kind of guy, but I love that people are complaining about that. Like that tells me
I'm fine with the complaints.
Well, no, but that tells me how much they love it, right? Like, like that's pretty cool that they want more. They want more. So I'm happy. I'm with you though. Like, come on. We get some complaints. I know Councilwoman Beck saw the complaint about garbage, and it was like, "Come on, Spanish Fork," and garbage cans. Like, really? Like,
I'm fine with the complaints. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But it's the tone, right?
It's the tone. It's we're a bunch of idiots that we don't know how to do anything. But
Shane was not at the Rage Against the Machine concert.
I was not.
96.
Yeah. I really didn't even know what was going on.
It's too old.
I'm like 96. What was I doing?
Yeah.
6 kids and 2 jobs and
been there.
I don't know what was going on.
I've only ever had 3 kids, by the way.
Oh. Well,
the second one, maybe continuing on, Councilman Euler mentioned the back parking lot. Matt is well versed in things that we're doing. I don't know if you have anything to add, but I will say, call. There have been some that have sent emails and whatnot. In the moment, if somebody's got something and they're frustrated or worried about it, call the non-emergency dispatch line. And Matt, you can give that number here in a second. We can put it on the screen as in the replay of this. But like, don't take a video and send something to you 2 days later. Like, call the dispatch non-emergency line. Our police officers will go there. They'll talk to the kids, help them get out. Nobody wants to bust the kids. Like, that's not productive. But our officers are really good at going, talking to them, telling them, hey, your music's disturbing people and whatnot. But anything, I know you guys have been there, checked it out a few times.
Now we know
Did
where
we
that
kill it?
noise was
We might have
coming
died.
from.
Yeah, that's. I think that's what the sound has been. We killed.
They're all
Matt's
dead.
mic.
We've had officers there a couple months past, had some overtime shifts there, that alleviates the problem, and our officers are there, because they see smoke out of there when they need. We got a whole camera from emergency management, we've had that there, that alleviated the problem, but the problem is if an officer's not there, they're there causing issues.
Right.
Noise.
That's what I've heard, Chief, is an officer will come, they'll all scatter, they'll take off. It sounds like they go to the dugout and just hang out at the dugout and cause problems there
That's hilarious.
until the officer leaves, and then they go back.
I think they're getting frustrated because we're more of a reactive force when we show up instead of more proactive. But I've been in communication with some of those citizens and advising that we're still trying to address some of the issues. We'll move forward with that and keep them updated. So.
Thank you.
Had a conversation with Rocco before council meeting on maybe some things that we could address and look at, and he's willing to explore some of those ideas. So.
Okay, great. No, we appreciate the officers that go down there and have to struggle through that, because it's ongoing, right? And especially in the summer months. But yeah, thank you. And just, if you could keep us informed on any changes or any improvements that you continue to make, appreciate it. Thank you, Seth.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah, and I think we've got a few more things that we're tinkering with. Candidly, I'm okay, really okay with somebody, if they're worried about it, calling and having our officers go. The more our officers end up going, I mean, especially if it's within, it's not an emergency, so it's not a 911 call. But if it's a non-emergency call, it ends up on their CAD, and an officer will get there. That becomes disruptive to the patterns of what those teenagers are doing. And eventually they were like, let's get out of here. We're going to Payson.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like, and Chief, you can correct me, and sorry to cut you off. It sounds like it's not just teenagers, though. It sounds like
There's some older, young adults there.
Yeah, that's
Majority of these
18 to
people from out of town that come down.
Right.
18 to 25,
Yeah.
roughly, right?
Yeah.
And they're for the most part, they're just gathering. They listen to loud music. Sometimes they're a little bit vandalous, if that's a word, and that they disrupt the park more so than other things.
Yeah, Dr. Taylor, and Taylor says they're constantly cleaning up garbage out of that parking lot.
Yeah, but you're probably not going to stop the behavior. Frankly, it might be just move it to some other town,
which I am totally happy
right.
with.
Yeah. Take your turn. Sign up.
Payson's got some beautiful parking lots.
Yeah. No lights. Anyways, that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
What's up with that?
Thank you.
This is what we do when you don't come. Yeah.
Whatever.
You're right.
No, you're not.
Okay, next section of the agenda is Spanish Fork 101. We have some survey information that some of the information we went over in the work session, right, Tara? So similar stuff here, and we appreciate our guests here tonight, and pass it over to Tara.
Historic Preservation Commission. There's 4 members from the staff that are on that, and then there's 4 members of the community. And one of the goals of that commission was to do a reconnaissance level survey. That survey was able to happen because we were able to receive a grant from the State Historic Preservation Office. That's a matching grant, and so Spanish Fork paid half of that grant, and that has been completed. So we would love to invite Chalet Larson from I.O. Landark, and she will give us those results and those things that the reasons why the residents could benefit from it.
Thank you, Tara. Hi, Shalay.
Thank you, Tara. It's good to see all of you again. Update on the husband-child sports schedule. He failed to get the younger child to baseball practice.
And now it's on the public record.
And now it's on the public record. But they canceled it at the last minute, so he was saved. It worked out really well for him. So my name is Shalay Larson. I'm the principal of IO Land Arc. We are a design, planning, and historic preservation consulting firm. And we are very passionate about what we do. We love to help communities tell their stories and preserve their unique cultural history and sense of identity and place. And Spanish Fork is amazing. And honestly, just sitting here through your city council meeting and just, I feel the love. I want to move here. It's amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity to do this. I just want to give you kind of a high level, and for the community, a high level overview of our findings and our recommendations. So there's a clicker. So the agenda for this presentation, acknowledgements, project summary and methodology, statistical summary and analysis, recommendations, and then do we have time? This isn't Q&A, or
No.
do you?
Well,
We already
I
kind of
guess
did.
if we wanted to ask you, but
You are welcome to ask more questions if you have more additional follow-up questions. This was, again, it was such a privilege to work on this project. We really enjoyed working with Spanish Fork City. Tara and Tyler were both amazing to work with. Thank you to the Historic Preservation Commission for all the work that you do. And for the homeowners, we didn't talk to a lot of homeowners. That wasn't necessarily part of our scope of work, but those who came out and talked to us while we were doing the survey, we really enjoyed chatting with those people. So, and then also a recognition of our friends at the State Historic Preservation Office. I'm not sure which screen to look at. I'm getting whiplash. So they've been a great resource through this process. So the purpose of a reconnaissance level survey is to get a high level overview of what are the historic resources in this community. And when we talk about history, history is an abstraction for a lot of people. A lot of people don't think about history on a day-to-day basis. They don't think, I know there are some people that are really into genealogy, but for the average community member, being able to connect with historic buildings and historic places is a very tactile, physical way to really connect with your own, that sense of place and community pride. And the first step in preserving that physical history of your community is to go to that high level and evaluate, okay, what do we have? What's the condition of it? And could we maybe create a historic district? So the outcomes of this effort, we updated the State Historic Preservation Office database. So we gave them GIS files that have all of the data that we evaluated for the properties. We walked the community. We put in a lot of miles on foot. We stayed on the public sidewalk. We didn't go into people's properties, and we just took photos of all of the properties from the street, and we evaluated them for their plan type, the architectural style, and the integrity of each property, and whether it was contributing or non-contributing to the historic district. And let's see. And then, at the outcome of this process, hopefully we'll provide information that would help facilitate the creation of historic districts in Spanish Fork. So just some quick terminology. One of the ways that we identify and sort of categorize historic structures is by their period of significance. What was happening culturally in terms of the broad layers and patterns of history? What was happening at the time that these buildings were originally constructed? And for this community, we identified the following periods of significance. I'm not going to go into these in a lot of detail, but we have European settlement, or the European settlement period. This is the initial explorers that came to this valley in 1776 through 1849. Then we have town expansion and early farmsteads. This is really the pioneer era of settlement. And then modernization, consolidation, and the warriors. So a lot of this period is commonly associated with Victorian homes, but there's a number of other styles in there as well. Then we have the interwar growth and the bungalow era period from 1919 through 1944. So this is kind of the period between the two world wars. And then post-war expansion, 1945 through 1959. And then the civic and cultural development period of 1960 through 1981, and the modern era, which is basically everything that is ineligible. It's not old enough yet to be listed as part of a historic district. So here are a couple of existing National Register of Historic Place listings that already exist in the survey area: the David H. Jones House and the Spanish Fork City Hall, former Thurber School. So as we were evaluating these properties, we evaluated approximately 600 properties. And the overall distribution of, so basically we looked at every property and we said, could this property, if it, first off, is it inside the period or is it outside the period? So if it's in one of those periods of significance that we identified, then does it maintain integrity? So does it represent the original characteristics of that building when it was built originally? Some properties end up being ineligible because major changes have been made to them, such as being re-sided with vinyl siding, or major additions being added, or roof lines being changed, basically major changes to the building. So approximately, we're just over the 50% threshold. We have 275 properties that we identified as eligible or contributing to a potential historic district, and then 263 that we identified as ineligible and non-contributing, and 67 that were outside of the period. So when we look at the construction dates by period of significance, the vast majority of the buildings were built during that interwar period of 1919 through 1944, followed by 143 properties in the 1945 through 1959 post-World War II period, and then the late Victorian, early 20th century. The one thing that we noticed, and you'll see this in an upcoming map, is that in a lot of communities you see very distinct growth rings, with the oldest buildings being located more towards the central area of settlement, and then later buildings being added around the periphery. It was very interesting in Spanish Fork. A lot of development that has occurred throughout all of these periods has been very intermixed. So what we've seen is a pattern of redevelopment and infill rather than constantly pushing outward, which is kind of cool because you can have a lot of different architectural styles right next to each other, but it's also very challenging from establishing a clear district boundaries standpoint, which we'll talk about in a minute with our recommendations. But one of the biggest takeaways from our survey is that, taken together, when we look at the plan type and the architectural style, the data suggests that the survey area developed as a cohesive residential environment rooted in working and middle-class occupancy, particularly during the interwar and post-World War II periods, rather than being defined by a single architectural style or period of high-style design. This area is characterized by the continuity of modest housing types across multiple decades. So it's a very working-class, family-oriented community. Here are a couple of the maps that we generated. So the map on the left shows the eligible and the ineligible properties. And you can see how really dispersed the eligible properties are throughout the study area. And then on the right, we have, oh, I bumped it. The periods of significance are identified by the colors there indicated. And you can see on this map, there's no clear pattern. They're very much all mixed together. So what is, what does this mean for the community? This means that the city has the potential to nominate parts of this study area for national and potentially local historic districts. The benefits of listing a property or a group of properties on the National Register of Historic Districts includes, number one, first and foremost, recognition and neighborhood pride. You get a cool plaque, you get to brag to your friends and neighbors, people who come to visit, get to read. I live in a historic house and I have a cool plaque, and strangers stop in my front yard all the time and read my plaque. I love it. Every time it's such a great feeling. But the financial benefits. So there are rehabilitation tax credits available to help offset the cost of maintaining and restoring old historic homes. There are also doing this would potentially open up additional grants and loans available. There is building code leniency with regards to the IBC. There's potential local zoning variances for conditional uses, like if someone wanted to turn a house into a bed and breakfast, things like that. And then there's a whole wealth of information for historic property owners about rehabilitation advice and best practices. The important thing to differentiate is that if you do a National Register listing, there are no restrictions. There are no outright restrictions associated with that. There's no board or commission that you have to go to if you want to do something to your property, if you want to repaint it, or if you want to replace windows, or if you want to do something with the exterior. However, if the city did decide to move forward with a local historic district and establish design standards that would then be codified, then there would be some kind of board or review process that property owners would need to go through in order to make changes to their historic structures. So I mentioned the historic preservation tax credits. There's two different ones. There's a local and a federal. So the local is through the state of Utah. It's 20% of all of your eligible building rehabilitation costs in the form of a tax credit. And these apply to residential properties, so either owner-occupied or residential rentals. There's also a 20% federal tax credit that is available for income-producing properties. So if you have a rental, a residential rental property, you can receive both tax credits. So you can receive a tax credit for potentially up to 40% of your eligible rehabilitation costs. So the next steps, like I said, this was the first step, and congratulations for achieving that milestone. We have a number of recommendations that the next slides will kind of go into more detail on. But the first and foremost is that we're recommending nominating a Main Street district to the National Register of Historic Places. And we feel like this would go a long ways towards incentivizing and supporting those business owners and property owners along Main Street, and really creating a vibrant Main Street and community core, and potentially boosting things like heritage tourism and sense of community pride and place. The next step would be some kind of multiple property submission. So rather than a physical district boundary, we would take thematic listings based on those different architectural styles or periods of significance that we identified, and we would do a listing or multiple listings potentially based on type. So this approach establishes shared historic context and eligibility criteria, allowing the nomination of small groups of individual properties. And then there's also, at an even smaller scale, we identified 12 individual properties that we think it's worth pursuing individual listings on. And honestly, there's more than that. I think there's so many great buildings in here, but these were 12 that really jumped out to us. And any homeowner at any time can individually pursue a National Register nomination on their own. So that doesn't mean the city has to do it, but if you chose to not pursue the other two options, we would at least recommend that you move forward with these intensive level surveys and individual National Register nominations, just to get more buildings placed on the National Register at the local level. And then this is an ongoing process, so buildings change over time. We have, deterioration, we have remodels, changes happening, redevelopment happening constantly. So it's very important that a survey like this, now you have the foundational data, so every 10 to 15 years, having a consultant come through and resurvey the property and make the appropriate adjustments is recommended. And then maintaining survey data and preservation planning recommendations. So we're also recommending that the city move forward with creating some kind of broader community preservation plan. And this would allow you to codify first off, this would allow you to really engage the community and see where the community's at and how they're feeling about their architectural history in the community, and what types of strategies they would like to implement or see implemented, and what kind of tools that you can then codify to help preserve this history before it's gone. Because once it's gone forever. So this would allow you to establish clear policies for identification, evaluation, and protection of historic resources. If you established local historic districts, you could create design guidelines for rehabilitation, additions, and things like new infill construction within historic areas that are aligned with the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. This would give you an opportunity to look at strategies for managing change, including compatible infill and adaptive reuse, and I potentially identify priority resources or at-risk areas. And it's integration of preservation goals into broader planning and zoning frameworks, because everything that you do needs to come back to your general plan and your zoning ordinance. So, and best practices in preservation planning emphasize flexibility and incentives over regulation alone. So it's a layered approach. Obviously, if you do choose to pursue local codification of historic resources, then you can have that tool in your tool belt, but that shouldn't preclude good public education, good community outreach, and trying to prioritize incentives over over heavy regulation, I should say. And a lot of that can come from the financial incentives that I mentioned earlier. So that is where we're at. Any questions?
Well, I've got one question, I guess. If we've got a homeowner that has a rental that's outside of the survey area that wants to try and rehabilitate their home in a way to take advantage of the tax credits, are they able to, even though they're not part of the survey area?
They would, so unless you move forward with a group listing of some sort, a historic district designation, no one is technically.
Okay.
But if you do move forward with a National Historic District designation, then it would only include whatever properties you decide to draw into that boundary. Okay. If they are outside of the boundary area, it depends on how far outside the boundary area they are. Like, I don't see why they couldn't potentially be included in one of those thematic nominations that we talked about. But typically you would just work off of what's already been done. So the foundation of the properties that have been surveyed, because that initial step's been done. However, anyone, anywhere in the state of Utah, anywhere in the United States can individually list their property on the National Register of Historic Places. So if that's something that a property owner is interested in, I would highly encourage that. And the State Historic Preservation Office is a great resource. You can hire a consultant to do that for you, or you can do the research on your own and fill out the form and submit the nomination. Lots of homeowners have DIY, done their own nominations, so it's not impossible. But yeah, that would be the route I would recommend.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chalet? Plaques are pretty cool. Like what you said, people knocking on your door saying, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, well, so far not very many people have knocked. But I see
You just see them on the
standing out
Ring
there.
camera.
Yeah, I just look out my front windows and
Yeah.
people think I'm weird because I have no curtains on my on my living spaces of my house. But no, it's great. And the people walk up and down the street all the time because all the houses on my street have plaques. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's
That
cool.
is cool. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
that
you.
information.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. And Tara, watch for more coming. We had a little bit in the work session of a discussion of this too. So stay tuned, Spanish Fork. We'll have some more discussion on this in the future. We appreciate you coming down and visiting us. Thanks for making the trip, Chalet.
Mayor, we will also be putting this on the website so that everybody can see it.
Perfect. It'll be connected. I'll bet Jack's already got some little video stewing in his his fire brain over there. Okay. Takes us to the eighth part of our agenda, the consent items. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on the consent agenda. If there's no questions for the consent items, I'd entertain a motion approving the consent items.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck,
Second.
second by Councilman Took. All in favor say yes.
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 Consent items are approved. Takes us to new business. Ordinance to create a provisional business license. Mr. David G. Anderson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. In July, we discussed with the council the need to sanction business activity in situations where businesses are not yet eligible to receive business licenses. This provisional business license is the idea that came out of that discussion. And there's been a slight modification to draft language that we talked about that night, again back in July, where we've added, in addition to some really simple criteria that would have to be met for a business to be eligible for a provisional business license, a lifespan for the license. With the draft that is prepared here, I appreciate Mr. Urquhart putting it up there, so just the language there under 54170. That's really all that it is that would be added to Title V of the municipal code. I've inserted 30 days, again, as the lifespan for a provisional business license. For the particular issue that we've been dealing with recently, that we'd like to address with this, 30 days I think is an adequate amount of time. Mr. Perrins and I discussed on Monday the value potentially of maybe having to be 60 days instead of 30. There are some other situations where we can envision this being a useful tool where it might be helpful to have this license last for more than 30 days. But we're here tonight to recommend that this be adopted, maybe with the council considering that 30 or up to 60 days as being whatever he thinks most appropriate. Again, I think 30 days probably is good. 60 days, obviously, that allows for a little bit more flexibility. But we appreciate the opportunity to have something like this to put into play, just to make it easier for new businesses to get up and running. That's really what this is about.
Questions for Dave about this?
How long did it take? Was it 10 days for that company to get their provisional?
We just know that it was less than 30. We couldn't nail down their exact date when they made application, so.
I don't find it a good argument to be down to 30 if we think 60 gives us enough wiggle room. I think if we're talking to businesses and trying to get going, that's
Not anything we can't change later if we need to.
If it's 30 days, they can
30.
extend, right? They can do another one.
There's nothing here that says they can't, so that, I thought about that as well.
So, yeah, I think we're good. 30.
Okay. I think so.
okay. If there's no other questions for Dave, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed ordinance to create provisional business licenses.
Motion made by Councilman Cardon,
Second.
second by Councilman Marshall. A roll call vote. Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
9.1 is approved. Takes us to 9.2 personnel policy definitions update. Mr. Jacobson.
No middle name?
Tyler P.
That was B.
Thanks, guys.
Let's make it up.
We're going to go back in time just a little bit for this one. So just across the hall in the Heritage Room, the library actually has a program where they have a time machine. So we're going back about 12 years ago. The Affordable Care Act became enacted, and we had to make sure to follow that at the city. So we changed our policy, and one of those changes was that the Affordable Care Act required for all employees that were not benefited, in order to work part-time, they had to work less than 130 hours in a month. So they call that the look-back period. You can choose a look-back period of a month or a year, and at the time we chose to go with a month. Over the last 12 years, there have been some changes, and to make it a little bit more flexible for our part-time employees to work, we need to change the language in our current personnel policy. So what's before you is a proposition that would make it possible to do a look back of a full year, or 1,560 hours. So we would ensure that employees would work less than 1,560 hours in a year. And what this does is, so for example, if you have an employee who works quite a bit in the summertime, but then in the winter, not as many hours in a week, it makes it possible for them to work more in the summer when it's needed than later on in the year when there may not be as much work for that employee to do. So the proposal that's before you, the language that has changed is the definition for a part-time employee. So we'd be getting rid of 3 definitions. We'd replace the part-time employee definition. We would get rid of the seasonal employee and the variable employee definition, and we would have one category called part-time employee. This will make it easier to administer the Affordable Care Act and hopefully make it easier for our employees, our supervisors, to schedule employees. One of the questions you may have is, does this have a fiscal impact? Employees would still have to work within the budget that they've been given. So we don't anticipate that. There certainly could be some requests in the future where supervisors ask if they can have their employees work more hours, but as of right now, they would have to work that time that's budgeted. Any questions, though, on this?
Questions for Tyler?
No.
Okay,
Tyler?
thanks.
Appreciate that. Good update. I would entertain a motion to approve item 9.3.
I move to approve the personnel policy to definitions.
Motion made by Councilman Euler,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Beck. A roll call vote here. Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
And Councilman Took.
Yes.
That is approved. Takes us to 10, a discussion tonight before we adjourn to closed meeting.
There's 9.3.
9.3.
Let's do your
One more at the very
appointments.
bottom there.
Excuse me. Yeah, I marked it. Okay. 9.3 is board and commission appointments. David, is that something you want to mention? And then I can politic it if I need to. I mean, some of these people might be on the fence.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that this, Mr. Mayor, I mean, having talked about it with you a few times now, I think this is one of the responsibilities that the mayor has that you take pretty seriously, and I appreciate the thought that's gone into recent planning commission appointees, and Megan Johnson and Darren Meller being the 2 candidates to replace Todd Mitchell and Shauna Warnick. I had an opportunity yesterday to meet with Darren and to go over some of the just fundamental duties of planning commissioners and that sort of a thing. not to jump the gun, but look forward to meeting with Megan next week to do the same thing. And couldn't be more excited. And I meant what I said about being sad, about seeing Shauna step down. I really need to take a minute to say the same thing about Todd. He works often out of town. That's the case tonight, so he couldn't be here. Otherwise, I think he would have been. And I can't say enough good things about Todd. I'll go ahead and mention this. I wasn't sure after his first 3-year term that he wanted to serve another 3-year term. I was really happy that he accepted, that opportunity. And he has been the chairman of the Planning Commission now for 3 years, which is a really, really long run. Actually, I served for 7, also a really long run. And he's been a rock. With Todd, I think you know what he's thinking. I think you know why he's thinking it. And he's very pragmatic and practical. He just wants things. This is my view of Todd and what he's brought to discussions and his service for the city. Very pragmatic, wants to make sure that things work, that details are covered, and that sort of a thing. And at the same time, I think you know how far he's willing to bend on something that he cares about, and he's stuck to his ideals and what he's felt has been best for the city. And I think sometimes you get a chance to see maybe how people develop new skill sets through service on like a planning commission, and he became very, very capable of running discussions really, really well. And of course that's great on nights when you have a full agenda and a lot of different people to hear from and that sort of thing. So like Shauna, he's certainly going to be missed. Thanks for the liberty to mention that about Todd.
Yep.
That's certainly genuinely how I feel. And again, Darren Meller, who we plan to have start serving tomorrow night. And then Megan Johnson, who's looking forward to starting to take Shauna's place then in September. Couldn't be more excited to have them on board.
Perfect. Any questions about those fine folks that Dave's mentioned?
No, that'll be great.
I think I just want to add, we really listen to them and appreciate the time and energy they all put in. That's a lot of years. I mean, how many of you have served as commissioners? 3?
Yeah.
3 of you, and it's a lot of work. We listen and we trust and respect what you guys have to say. We may not always agree at the end, but it doesn't mean we didn't listen. We may have got more information by the time we have it on our agenda and just make a different decision. But I think that's just the process of it. So to all of our commissioners, thank you.
Very well said. I would hope Todd can make it to a future council meeting so we can have him stand up here and talk like we did Shauna. He's been a great asset to it, to the city. And yeah, I hope Megan and Darren weren't listening to the parts where we told Shauna she got thick skin and she admitted it, but that's what they're about to step into. But both shameless plug for Jack's Spanish Fork University 101 coming up, and those are open now or coming up open, Jack?
Yeah, application closes on Friday at noon.
So this week,
Mm-hmm.
you can apply. I know who were asking here to serve on the Planning Commission have been Spanish Fork University students and learned that much more about their city. So there's your plug. One way or the other, join Spanish Fork University. You might get asked to serve on other stuff, but you will learn about your city too. So those are my appointments that I'd like to present in front of the council to serve those vacancies. What's
There's
that?
a reappointment on there for airport board member.
Oh,
Matt
that's
Taylor
correct.
as well.
Which you and Stacy are currently on the airport board.
He's the airport board commissioner too. He does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, Matt Taylor, right?
Yep.
Matt Taylor has agreed to serve on our airport board again, and we're grateful for him. He's a good pilot and a good asset on that board.
Agreed.
So there you go. Megan Johnson, Darren Meller to the Planning Commission, and reappoint Matt Taylor to the Airport Board. If somebody would like to make that motion and vote on it, we can do that.
I move to appoint Megan Johnson and Darren Miller to the Planning Commission and reappointment of Matt Taylor to the Airport Board.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Took, second by Councilman Marshall. Says we can do this in an all in favor. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Those are approved. Okay. Now, we're at our discussion on the agenda before we go into closed session. David, are you taking this one too?
Again, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm going to start and pretty quickly turn things off to Mr. Pierce. Before then, we turn things off to Jeff Chavez and maybe his team at Volition. We appreciate them being here tonight. Just to maybe broadly set the stage for what we're discussing here. For the past couple of years, I feel like particularly for the past couple of years, as city staff, kind of being sometimes the first people that are contacted with the city about different development opportunities and that sort of a thing, more and more frequently, we've been approached by companies that are looking to use a lot of power, lots of different types of companies. There was a food manufacturer 3 or 4 years ago that would have been the city's largest power user if they had landed in the community. More recently, there was a company that manufactures synthetic graphite that would have really set the bar in terms of using a lot of power, maybe set the bar differently, but it worked with a very well-known company here a few years ago. I realize now as I describe this, these are all companies that ultimately didn't land in Spanish Fork, but they forced us to think about how we'd provide power to them. There was a company that was going to build a multi-million square foot warehouse and distribution facility that would have been almost 100% automated. And again, really, really big power user. Tonight we'll talk about data centers. It's just another particular type of land use that uses a lot of power. But we've started to look at issues related to how Spanish Fork City and maybe even UMPA would serve certain types of customers. With that, here earlier this year, we started to have some of us, and Councilmember Took has been a great member of kind of an ad hoc committee that we formed with staff and some people from UMPA to investigate different options, opportunities, hurdles, challenges, things related to serving customers that would need more power than what we've dealt with in the past in Spanish Fork. Today, Hydro is the city's largest power user. I think to provide a little bit of context, when we're maxed out with our power use as a whole city, I think we're at about 90 megawatts now.
95 might be close.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, this right now is the time of year when collectively the most power is being used. Hydro uses, I want to say, maybe 4 megawatts. And we've talked with some companies, for example, the graphite manufacturer, they wanted to use 20. So we'd go from having our largest power user potentially being 4 up to 5 times that. And those things, they can impact our system in various ways. For companies that are connected to Spanish Fork City Power, we've been looking at, again, how to appropriately plan for and to serve companies like that. Through kind of the same period of time, we've started to look at some other options. We've visited a company in California that manufactures equipment that allows for power to be generated on site and potentially even for customers not to tie into, or companies not to tie into the grid. We'll talk more about that later tonight. That happened just a few months ago. We've had some conversations with the city council after that. And I think this discussion right now is particularly timely because after having, again, discussed this for quite some time, looked at a lot of different scenarios and options, there is a text amendment that will be considered tomorrow night by the Planning Commission where they'll have the opportunity at least to make a recommendation on some changes to our zoning code to allow for some land uses that had never before really been contemplated in Spanish Fork. Again, we'll talk at least briefly about that tonight, and you likely will see that on a future agenda. So again, just kind of high level. That's my longer than I thought it'd be introduction, but I'll let you take it from there, Corey. Unless you, do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Dave before Corey?
Wouldn't expect so.
Thanks, Dave.
I'll just take a minute and talk about a few of the things we've been trying to research, address, as we've met as a large load committee. One of the things we're working towards is a policy to address a lot of the questions. I think we heard in the public comments concerns that are environmental, and I appreciate those. We've been looking at that in a lot of different ways, but here's some of the goals of a policy we're putting together. This is kind of to give the direction we're thinking, and also, are we missing things that the council would like us to talk about, research, and dig deeper on to work into this policy. So on a broad high level, we're looking at protecting the existing customers and the city infrastructure. As these large loads come in, there's often a lot of infrastructure costs and other things that get put there, and we want to make sure that our system is taken care of and that those users are paying their way and it's not supplemented by other users. UMPA is the organization that provides our power generation. They have some requirements and bond covenants and other agreements in place that we need to research as large companies or large power users come in to make sure that we're meeting all those requirements as well as some of the regional regulations. Cost recovery, we want to ensure, again, that growth pays for growth, that's not a burden that existing residents or you need to supplement. Environmental sustainability, as we look at the general plan, air quality, water quality, all the things that we hear, noise mitigation, emission controls, heat, as was mentioned tonight, and many other things. We want to make sure we understand the impacts there, as well as what's the economic benefit to the city. Is there, great job growth, high-value jobs, capital investment? What are the ways that the city benefits as these large users come in? This maybe gives a preview or a little thought of how we would break down users that come in. Users that are under 1.5 megawatts would just kind of go through the normal process, our zoning regulations and ordinances. We've kind of defined large users as those above 1.5 megawatts. And if they're above 1.5, there would be some things written into the policy we're preparing, as well as UMPA oversight to make sure we're doing things right. And as that gets larger, often we have to get PacifiCorp involved in doing a system impact analysis. And then as we get larger, you'll see there as we get into data center talk and other large users, we're talking 50 megawatts and sometimes well beyond that. That's, again, that Dave mentioned, we're 95 megawatts as a city. It's hard to contemplate the amount of energy that it takes to do this. So there's a lot more regulation and studies that need to go in loads that large. How can PacifiCorp or Rocky Mountain Power bring that power in and then it run through UMPA to us? And then also, how do we work with islanded data centers? Dave mentioned we've looked at some different generation, and as Seth said, we wanted to see, touch, feel, smell, listen to these technologies and what might that impact. So that's a lot of the things we've been working through. One of the tools we're thinking that would be for large power users is a master electrical service agreement. Entities like Rocky Mountain Power use these quite a bit to just outline the large investment and make sure it's understood. So we would contemplate two agreements. One's for construction, who's funding what improvements to get the infrastructure to the site, and what assurances are there that would get built, and what are the timelines for those. And then as that turns over to a user actually using power, how is it operating, and are we capturing the costs? Are we protecting the city in the way we want? So just a few of the goals of a master electrical service agreement. What upfront guarantees are there going to be that the infrastructure gets built and used? Often you see as we build shell buildings in our industrial areas, and we're seeing more of those, often those are built not knowing what's going to go in them. And those that are developing them want to be able to advertise about anything. So often they're saying we need a large transformer because we could have a large user in. And then when a typical warehouse comes in and it just keeps the lights on, that transformer is oversized, and we have an asset that's out there that we have to maintain that's very expensive, and we're not running enough power for it through it to cover the cost of it. So that would be some of the things that we look at. We've talked about, do we on a shell building limit upfront capacity? In other words, we install a smaller transformer that can get them through the tenant improvements, but as they find a user and we understand what goes in there and we have a load sheet, then we can upsize the transformer and right size that for what's going in. One of the things along that same line is properties go forward in time and maybe that large load goes away and another user gets into the building that doesn't need that much power. We'd like the provision to be able to, the term claw back or get back some of that capacity. In other words, downsize this transformer to what's needed today so that we can then use that capacity elsewhere in the city and not have to reserve capacity for something that's not being used. And then if they exceed that, are there penalties or how do we deal with that? So there's a lot of terms that would work into the details. Operational type items are often just because we build the infrastructure to get it there, it doesn't necessarily guarantee the power can get there. And so there would be provisions in the agreement to make sure we all understand that, that there's not this feeling of, I own something that can't be delivered today. And then operational constraints, specific power quality they would have to meet to ensure that it's not causing problems with our system. And then how do we terminate? You know, if a company decides to leave, how does this agreement terminate to move on then to a new user? So those are some of the things we've been discussing, looking at the tools we look to use for these large power loads. So any suggestions, any questions that we as a committee could look at or research to help answer some of these really difficult problems as things come in?
Corey, I think the way you've laid this out makes a ton of sense. I'm curious, an applicant comes to the city, they're over 1.5 megawatts, puts them in this other category. What's the decision-making process? Is it strictly staff facilitating this conversation? There's no legislative action by the city council at any point in this process? It doesn't look like it to me.
I think, and I maybe would look to Vaughn a little bit or others, if we have a master electrical services agreement, who signs?
Okay.
Is it a council approval that typically that's where those types of agreements would go? It could be if there was a template that city council liked that they would authorize perhaps city managers or others to sign. Mm-hmm. That could work. I think that would be the place to capture that legislative oversight to say, yes, this is important to our town and we want to do that. As well as the other processes through subdivisions and things that would cross your path.
Sure, but at some point these things are coming into whatever zone they are in, and they're permitted use or not permitted use. They're permitted use, but yet they still need over 1.5 megawatts. If there was no legislative touch point on that, we're out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It could be a data center, it could be a zoo, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we're out, there's not a decision for us to make with this process. So that's why the next topic is data center conversation. And I'm sure the internet usage is going to go up as we start talking about data centers. And it feels like this is sort of the, not back door to start the conversation, but it's something that's part of it.
Yeah, all part of it.
Absolutely.
Yep, all part of it.
100%. But I think I am concerned that whatever user generates or needs this much power, we look at it from a land use and zoning perspective as well, on top of the power requirement.
Absolutely.
And maybe we'll get there as part of the conversation, but I don't think it's you check the energy box, the power consumption box, and you're permitted, go forward. I mean, at one point, a 1.5 megawatt user is a big user. And Dave, you rattled off some of the folks that aren't here but could have come here. And I think without a discussion from us, I would be concerned that someone using that much power has no legislative action whatsoever.
That would require a Title 15 change, right? Because if what you're saying is you would want anything that's that high of a power user to come before the city council.
It'd be almost with special use.
So then
permit.
we would need to change the way that our code is currently written, because right now they don't come here.
How?
I'm putting it on the table as something should we talk about.
That was my exact question, except I no way would have articulated it as well as you did.
Yeah,
So I think that's important.
I don't know. I consider one of the examples that was coming. How do you do that? How do you have that conversation in a public meeting when that business or the property owners are still negotiating?
It's
still
tough,
trying
yep.
to work things out, and now we're trying to throw it out there publicly where they're still trying to do things behind the scenes.
Absolutely. You pull up Title 15 and you look at all the permitted uses within a zone. Some of them are special use, what are they called? Help me out, Dave.
Potentially conditional uses.
Conditional uses. It would follow somewhere a similar policy. You put those uses that we're concerned about in there, and then we have the conversation. But it's not something I'm like, oh, we need this for sure. Just as this all plays out, and as we have a conversation around data centers,
Right.
what is our touch point?
Right.
Yeah, historically, I think it's the land use, right? And then it's the capacity of the system. I think that's today the backstop, right? So, yeah, if you want to change that, this is policy here, not necessarily.
It's good policy. I'm not
Totally.
digging on
Yeah,
it, right?
this is
good
policy,
stuff.
so I don't think it has the teeth that you might be looking for. So if you want to look at that, I think my question that I mouthed to Vaughn, that he's like, I can't read your lips, is what is the legislative action in that question that you're asking? I don't know. So we can talk through that.
And we may not need it here if we're covered
Right.
in another location.
To your point, Shane, I understand why you're asking, because if the city's got the opportunity to bring in a company that's going to use 15 megawatts to produce whatever, and they employ 100 people and generate a certain amount of tax revenue to the city, as compared to 3 businesses that will produce the same amount of energy but employ a lot more people and generate a lot more revenue. Do you throw it to the one individual, that came first, or do you hope you can get the 3? I mean, how does that work when it's
tough.
not legislative and it's all?
I think you're thinking that there's going to be like that you have.
There's more than one.
Well, that like we have the never-ending ability to serve that power. Like it's not. It is a very much of. If you are hooked to our system and you're talking about this amount of power, that's created somewhere and then having to be delivered, that the economics of this stuff can restrict itself before government needs to
For sure.
Before
And
government
I think
needs
it's
to jump in and say, let's
Yeah.
put some more legislation and some more restrictions and let's talk
Yeah,
about
it's
this.
not an
There's
infinite resource. Once it's
100%.
gone, it's
100%.
gone. And so
Yeah,
whoever's
I don't.
using it-
It feels like this is the sequencing of tonight's conversation seems backwards to me. This is an issue for any business requiring power anywhere in our city. This is a good policy to follow when anything over these limits come in. We don't necessarily need to be involved with these kind of conversations. If the front end of it is, this is the use, it complies with our policy or it doesn't comply with our
Right.
policy.
That's
Right,
really
that's
what it
where
is.
I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Once it gets to here, we've almost said, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, whatever that
Whatever that thing
business
is.
or industry, whatever it is, if it meets our requirements,
Right,
we
right.
can't then pick and choose.
Correct. And then I think, Mike, you're spot on. The market is going to dictate most of this, and we won't have to get into that business. But that's why I appreciate that we need this absolutely 100%, because there are some big users out there, and we need to protect ourselves. But it's the use of the property that really matters. And I guess we'll get that in the second comma of this conversation.
You know, I want to draw a distinction between this discussion and most of what you're going to hear from Volition about. But for, like what we see in that last row there, the island and data center, this really does not apply to that. So
I agree with you. That's
there-
I appreciate you saying that, Dave, because I think if I'm out there listening tonight, and I think we got an email, data centers. No, I heard a topic that's data centers, and we started the conversation about power. And I'm thinking, are these yahoos sneaking this data center conversation through a power lens? That's not the intent tonight. I think the intent is twofold. We need this regardless of the presentation we're going to hear, because there are users that need more power. Some of them happen to be data centers. So I think this is a good conversation to have. But you're right, it's not to generate the next presentation.
it really isn't. Now, there can be a connection, certainly.
Yeah, we put the words on the thing, so there is a connection, yes,
Yeah,
but not
it
the.
And I think this goes without saying, but just to be clear, and I'll let anybody that's been involved tell me if I'm wrong, but everything that we've talked about so far, these are ideas. These are policy ideas. It's draft. We've discussed it several times, I think, with us and advice that we've received from UMPA. I think we're getting pretty comfortable that in terms of what we'd recommend that the council consider, I think that probably would be forthcoming maybe in just a matter of weeks, but not set in stone.
Sure.
And maybe as much as anything, just trying to introduce this to you in this forum. So.
And this is a touch point for us. I can't remember when we had this conversation, a work session, where it was kind of a 1, 2, 3, not it. And I think Landon was the slowest one to say not it. So we got put on this committee. But this is a touch point for us to see our, in terms of this overarching policy, how are we doing? Along with that, this policy does say, and I think it's important to highlight, the concept of an islanded user is really an uncomfortable one for us, because we don't want anybody to just disconnect from the grid. We want it to be connected to our system. And so this does also address when somebody could disconnect from the grid or not ever connect from the grid and have an islanded use. I think we probably misidentify that and say islanded data center. I guess it could be anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a data center, right?
A way to phrase it, yeah.
But we're targeting that as a user greater than 50 megawatts, which is huge, right? That's half the town right now. And we don't know if that's the right number, but right now Jake is saying, hey, let's set that number high because we want to provide the power and we want to work through that. But candidly, if anybody wanted to use 50 megawatts of power, it would require probably at least 2 new substations, probably a connected power line that goes from a point where the 138 line ends to where it can connect to another 138 kV substation, which is probably $30 million or $40 million. So if somebody wanted to use 40 megawatts of power on the system, it's only going to happen with a significant amount of talk and conversation because it's not there today.
Sure.
And so, yeah, so as far as this goes, we're wanting to make sure, are we headed in a good direction as a group? Because we don't want to keep fleshing this out if we're missing the mark from your perspective on some things.
And that's where I'm getting at on like the above 1.5 megawatts there. Subject to this policy and UMPA oversight and Pacific Core System, you are talking about the organization that we're part of a power consortium of, that this is how much power we can produce, this is how much we can buy on the market, and then Pacific Corp, how much they would even sell us. And so there's some parameters in there that are certainly beyond just us saying, yeah, that, come or not come, depending who you are. That's a lot of study. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of things to say. Are you sure you need that kind of power in the first place?
Yep,
But
for sure. If you need that kind of power, you're generating something that's making you money.
yeah,
No doubt. I think part of my concern is not the policy at all. I think you've done a great job of outlining this. It's probably just the way we put it on the agenda as large power users, comma, island power, and data centers. I can see people going, large power users, island power equal data center, and that's not the conversation we're having tonight. It's large power users, end of conversation. Well, island power. Next topic, let's talk about data centers. So it's probably just in my head, I'm just semantics a little bit, but I want to make sure that we have a very open and transparent conversation over the next 16 hours. Just buckle up. I'm just kidding. But it's
8 seconds.
It's given the impression that our only concern is power, and I think we're going to figure out. We'll show the public in the next 30 minutes of conversation. It's not our only problem. So anyway,
So
this is
you
good
just limit
data.
it
I
to
think you're
30
heading in the right direction, Corey. Figure out where the legislative touch points are or are not, and keep the thing moving.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting, as Dave mentioned, we've had several users. He highlighted a few, but Jake would tell you he gets calls weekly.
Sure.
And Dave would tell you he gets calls weekly. And often it's like, boy, what do we do with this? Because it's so far from a power standpoint beyond what we're used to today. And what is that process? And that's this policy procedure thought here. And yeah, a lot of this probably shouldn't say data center in that regard. It's there because that's a lot of what requests we're getting in the environment we're in right now. But it's not just that. This is the intent for all large loads. And if it gets in a certain, what is the process? What is the legislative touch points? I think that's important. And today we haven't looked at it from that. We've looked at it from a loading point, and maybe need to focus some effort in of, how do we get these touch points?
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for Dave or Corey? You got some more slides before we?
Nope.
Nope. That's it.
Finish the handoff here, if that's okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chavez, you ready? I think we're ready to go. Jeff's very capable at describing what he would like to do in Spanish Fork. I've appreciated the opportunity to get to know more about the concept, and we're excited tonight to have him share it with you and the rest of the community. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeff.
Go ahead.
State your name for Tara so she gets it on the record.
Jeff Chavez, CEO of Volition.
Thank you.
And do we know, Tara, if sound will play on a video clip?
Yes.
Okay.
Jack.
Just Jack.
Okay, great. Great. Mr. Mayor and Council, it's good to be with you again. Appreciate you giving us time to continue this conversation and to the rest of the leadership here. I just wanted to say that regardless of where we land together, it's really genuinely been a pleasure working with the city of Spanish Fork. Really, it's been very collaborative. We began this conversation probably in October or November. Is where this all began from its, initial consideration. And so anyway, we just appreciate the thoughtful and collaborative approach. For a little bit of background, especially for those who may be hearing about this for the first time, Volition began in the power industry. So this company began as we understood that power was accelerating as a major challenge and problem in the United States. So if we go back to the 2015, 2016 window, that's sort of the genesis of this company. As we began to see rapidly accelerating electricity rates, as we began to see utilities having to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into infrastructure throughout the country, and then passing much of that cost through to homeowners and businesses, with a projection that indicated that this would continue on a percentage basis year over year. And so our work began looking at a combination of renewable solutions, renewable water technology, renewable power generation technology. And that work led us to begin looking at how to build on-site power systems or microgrids to offset the cost of energy and to become a positive supplement to the grid by creating some type of offset. Somewhere in the 2023 period, 2022 period, we began to really look closely at what was happening in the data center industry, taking a broad look at large hyperscale data centers that had been built over the last 20 years and that were accelerating their application for deployment throughout the United States. And for context, we're talking about 50 megawatts here. A hyperscale facility is looking to build projects that are in the 1, 2, 3, 4 gigawatt power category. And those developments have become cause for concern, especially some of those that were built, call it 4 years or later, from a resource standpoint, from a water waste standpoint, from a noise standpoint, and from a power demand standpoint. And so with our understanding of power generation, and in particular the U.S. natural gas infrastructure, its stability, and its clean capability if utilized in the right deployment, we began to realize that we could innovate towards a data center infrastructure that could be sustainable. And so our approach has been, especially in the last 2 years, to really initiate a conversation with communities about the concerns that everybody is aware of. And obviously the volume around data center concern has dramatically increased here in Utah and around the country, especially in the last just 6 months. We were already addressing these. We were already aware of them. And so we know what the concerns are: electricity, noise, water, air quality. And our approach has been to address these transparently and openly. Part of what we've done as we have begun to consider building a sustainable data center in Utah has included an initiative where we began to interact, even just with some small campaigns on Instagram. I'm going to show you a brief video that has run and received over, I think, 300,000 impressions in Utah County, as we begin to have this conversation. It's also allowed us to get some of the initial feedback as we position ourselves as an innovative solution. Let me play this 2 minutes quickly and then talk about how we're continuing our approach in the dialogue with the community. Oops. You might have to click on. You know, oh, there we go. There's our link.
Where are you seeing it?
I saw a link when you clicked on there.
And then hit control. Mouse over him and hit the control button. Hit the control button.
If we don't find it quickly, there may be a chance that it didn't remain embedded when we emailed it over. And there you go, this will work. Thank you. Might need to hit volume.
We didn't set out to build data centers. We began by looking for ways to reduce energy costs in communities across America. We realized soon after there was a better way to build data centers that worked for the community. That's our mission. We all know that there's no stopping our need for additional data. Data centers are going to be built whether we're comfortable with that or not. But growth at all costs can have a negative impact on communities. Data centers are dramatically stressing our grid. In many cases, they use huge amounts of excess water, and most of them are not low emission. Our data centers are different. We don't require a huge amount of land, and most importantly, we never touch the electric grid. We use no power from the local utility. Everything we build is based on our natural gas infrastructure with a fuel cell that runs with extremely low emissions. We use the same water over and over again. What's more, all of the technology we use on our properties are extremely quiet. We can do this better. Giving back and sharing resources with the community is at the center of our purpose. A share of every site's revenue flows straight back into the community that hosts it. At Volition, we've made a commitment to be a good neighbor. And that's a promise we'll keep.
So it's been important, I think, useful for us to get feedback. Feedback has been, to some degree, as expected. Many comments on Instagram that are, what you might expect, like just a one-word response, liar, things like that. Or that I'm running for Congress. There was another one on there that said, oh no, for the governorship, which is not true. And that's okay. There are folks who are concerned, and that's our purpose, really, to address those concerns. As we lead up to a potential approval of our text amendment and the ability to produce power on site, we are hosting a 2-day open house that will be here at the library. The first session is next Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12:30, and then the following day from 10 a.m. to 12:30. And our intent is to allow for an environment where we can have a clear conversation. This will be run as an open house where we will take maybe the first 10 minutes with an overview similar to this conversation, maybe one of these videos that we have. I'll then give an overview of our design and our approach, and then we will have kind of 3 or 4 little booth settings where one of our team members will be there to talk and take questions just about power. another one just about water, another one about sound, another one about the proposed use of the existing building where we'd like to stand up this facility. And so our intention is to be able to not just have community members maybe isolated to an hour-long meeting in a chamber where it's hard to address longer conversations. So we look forward to this. I think this open house may also be, should be informative, I think, for the city as well, as you understand more directly how Spanish Fork citizens may be responding to this proposal.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask a question before we move on? Any chance you could do that Saturday between 10 and 12?
Add a date?
Or move a date?
Just need a day when people can come.
It's tough to be there on a Thursday from 10.
Yeah, you know, Shane, we're totally open to any recommendation. In fact, today we were sort of struggling with this conversation about the time, both what was available here in the library, so the evenings were both blocked out, but we talked about Saturday. So we're open to adding a time on Saturday. So if you point us in the right direction, we're willing to do more or different time frame.
Okay.
Happy to do that.
Right, people.
Yep. Even if High Chaparral or something else was there.
Yeah, if this is booked, let's find another.
So when we look at the overall question here, why a data center in Spanish Fork, or how would a data center in Spanish Fork look? There are really kind of these 5 pillars. One is that we bring our own power. There is no request from the city to upgrade or to do anything, for that matter, that would accommodate our needs. The second is that our technology is near zero emission. We're also going to demonstrate how our use of this property is much lower emission than if another tenant were to utilize the same property. We'll look at that in a minute. We use water extremely carefully, and it's really a fraction of the water use that many people might expect. So we'll walk you through that briefly. What we believe is a really productive use of an existing building. We're not requesting, to buy land and to build something new on, the skyline here. And then how we intend to ensure that our being in Spanish Fork is a positive in a variety of ways. So this first pillar, we literally bring our own power. Our system runs on natural gas. We have an off-grid fuel cell technology that I'll explain in just a moment that requires no transmission upgrades, no rate impact, no capacity taken from other tenants and businesses who intend to be here in Spanish Fork. There are no diesel generators. The reason we highlight this is just because diesel generators are at the center of the data center conversation. When community members have this incessant problem with noise and low hum, these are typically from backup generators running 24/7 and burning diesel. We have nothing, not even backup on our facility with diesel generators. And we have already been approved by Enbridge in the engineering and design to upgrade the amount of natural gas that comes into this property. It is a substantial cost, and that is a cost that we bear completely independent of the city. This is a look at the Bloom Energy fuel cell. This technology utilizes natural gas. When the natural gas comes into the fuel cell, there is a chemical reaction that occurs. The fuel is not burned, it is not consumed. The byproduct is heat and a small amount of water, aside from the electricity that is created in this chemical reaction. There's over 2 gigawatts of this technology deployed throughout the world. It is a 25-year-old technology that has been tested and proven in over 1,500 sites throughout the world. And we've built a great relationship with this company over the last 5 years. It's a phenomenal alternative to existing power generation. Bloom is one of several throughout the world who develop a fuel cell, all of which run with very low emission. Leading us into this next element that we focus on, which is our emissions. And in the Wasatch Front, as an ozone non-attainment area, there's a heavy focus on nitrogen oxides, and we fall below all state requirements significantly. In fact, we've just been given the initial minor source permit, has been approved by the Department of Environmental Quality here in the state of Utah. That just came through last week as they looked at all of the systems that we provided for them to do research on. So we have near zero local air emissions, and our systems don't require any type of technological add-on to in any way improve their performance. This is their performance capability, out of the box, so to speak.
Wait, Jeff, can you go back one? What was the permit you have from DAQ?
So the permit is run through Stantec, who is, primary facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know the exact name of the permit, Ryan? Do we? Yeah, it's called New Minor Source Permit.
Okay. So you have provided them data on your expected emissions. They evaluated it. They agree with those, and they said because of this lack of, you have a permit to operate Bloom equipment in Utah County.
In Utah County, and to the full extent that we propose, which is over 250 megawatts of power. So they looked at it collectively.
Okay.
A cumulative approval.
And the proposal here would be only 50, would be only, what, 20% of that?
Our proposal to build this facility facilitates up to 250 megawatts of power.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay.
One question before you leave this page too.
Yes.
So that first box, it says the natural gas, not zero carbon, near zero local air emissions, and the lowest available carbon at this scale. So is carbon a byproduct that's being put into the atmosphere? I'm just trying to understand exactly
I
what
think
you were just
saying. In this case, Ryan, do you want to address that phrasing?
You want to start
gotta
going
go
to
to
the
the
mic for us? That way everybody can hear you.
Welcome from Spain.
True, yeah, we forgot, yeah.
So the question was, what are the?
what are? It's saying that it's near zero. What is it? What are the byproducts that are being put into the air?
So there will be, the major, let's say, smog related would be nitrous oxide, NOx, and there is carbon monoxide, and in the fuel gas, in the natural gas, there's an additive of sulfur, so it becomes, because natural gas is not, you can't smell it, so sulfur is added, so that is scrubbed out of there, and so there is a small amount of sulfur oxide.
Gotcha. So I don't know. You said that you passed the emissions, so I'm assuming that those are pretty stringent. But what would it be comparable to? Because I know there's a lot of cells, a lot of fuel cells being put on the site.
Yeah.
How much are we looking at?
So in the permit, there's a total here. So nitrogen oxide, it's about 5 tons a year. There's also particulate matter that comes in at less than 0.1 tons per year. The sulfur dioxide is 0.01 tons, and the carbon monoxide is 22 tons.
22 tons total for the whole site.
For the whole site per year. Yeah.
So I think part of that question, though, Jesse, was it says this is natural gas, not zero carbon. And then there was some question about you don't burn it, so carbon isn't released. Like it's a little bit.
Yeah, that could.
The phrasing of it. I
Yeah,
think
you're
is a
right. That
bit
could be
off.
more clear.
Weird. But there is some carbon expelled, 22 tons a year.
What we can't say, what this is attempting to clarify is we can't say that we are net zero.
Totally. Yep.
And so this is just in the attempt to be real
net
clear that there is some byproduct and it's extremely low. And I think some additional slides will help give you a comparable.
Yeah, I think those numbers that Ryan put out there, I think those are really important, but they need some context.
Yeah,
I think they're really important. Like we would know what those are.
Come on,
unless
you don't know what they are?
Yeah, yeah. I know
Every
5
last one of
tons is
them.
like a drop.
That's my point. Is that we need some context around it, and then there'll be.
Yeah, like if you would have said 500, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right, 500 tons, not 5 tons. That makes sense.
But I do think sometimes when there's a new technology that's low emission, there's a tendency, and I think many companies will, in their ambition, say things like, we're zero emission.
Sure.
And while we are very low emission, we want to be clear that we're very low emission.
Town would like the straight talk.
Yep. Water is really important, and previous designs and engineering of data centers didn't factor in water conservation very well at all, if ever. And so the reports that you hear about millions of gallons of water wasted, not annually, but weekly, and in some cases daily, that's true, that happens. And that's a concern. And so before Volition came along, many of the leading developers of technology began to address this issue. Some of the major system developers like Carrier and Trane began to innovate around a more dynamic solution that would allow data centers to run on what is a closed loop system. They're more expensive, and so developers need to make a decision about investing more in a better technology, and that's absolutely our decision. So we utilize a closed loop system that effectively allows us to utilize one fill in the system almost in perpetuity, and I'll address the almost in just a minute. But to give you context, when we fill this system, which will provide enough power compute for up to 250 megawatts, which is, again, maybe a quarter of what you would consider a typical hyperscale, but still a large output. This is about equal to 2 Utah households for 1 year. In addition, there is an annual usage of 250,000 gallons, which is about 1 household, and that is used in parts of humidification in the system. But in the scheme of things, this is a much lower usage than what is often discussed in media or where is reference to legacy systems that are extremely wasteful. This is a modern system that is not wasteful at all. So we will not be requesting any additional water rights in any way from the city. And as a comparison, if we used old technology, a system like this would utilize over 650 million gallons a year, or 3,400 households. Just to give a comparison about how starkly efficient this is compared to previous data center designs.
Yep. Wait, don't change. On the infill side, you infill it once, use it for how long?
So the system is designed as one fill, but here's some of the detail around where there may be a refill. We monitor the water daily. There is the possibility that around year 7 or 8, the glycol in the water, it can change its percentage to a point that if it dips below a certain percentage, we are then in exposure for corrosion within our piping and within our direct chip cooling system. So if we at year 7 or 8 see an indication that the glycol level is changing in some way, then there is a mechanism to replace or test or improve the water in the system. And the engineering is such that we're able to shut down portions of the cooling so that we can extract up to 40,000 gallons at a time through a pump system into what are sort of like frac tankers. So we're able to pull the system efficiently, the water efficiently, into a mobile unit that allows us to then test the water, potentially increase the ratio of glycol, and reuse that flushing process. So that is the standard upkeep around 7 or 8 years, extremely efficient and low risk. The other potential scenarios for a concern with the water use, it is not impossible to get some micro contaminants. If we ever indicated that, we would employ the same type of system. In a worst case scenario for us, because of expense, if there was any kind of microbe in a system like that, we could potentially be facing having to refill the system, and it's not cheap to do that. So we're constantly monitoring water quality, and the system is designed to extract that water, treat the water, replace the water.
Sorry, Jeff, but as you're describing that, you extract the water, you treat the water, you put that same water back into the system?
Yes, potentially. So if we're just having to, if the water is still no problem to continue use, but we, for example, have to increase the ratio of glycol, that would be a scenario where we can pump it back into the system.
Is there ever a scenario where you have to drain it and replace it entirely? And if that's the case, what do you do with the water that gets drained?
So if we had a scenario where we had a bacterial problem, so we would extract it into tankers. Those tankers then go through a process where they're required to treat that water so that it is able to be taken to a waste facility. So there's
treated before disposal.
Before disposal. Yeah, so there's a process in place that water has to be treated in a worst case scenario like this so that it can be disposed of in an authorized waste facility. This is never a scenario where something would be, going down a local drain ever.
Where does that treatment take place?
In Utah, I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but
the treatment in the truck or the final treatment?
No, so you determine there's bacteria or there's an issue with the water, it can't go back into the system, so you load up the tankers. It then needs to go somewhere to be treated before it can be disposed of into a treatment wastewater, like our wastewater treatment plant. They can't just dump it down the drain. It's got to go somewhere.
No, it goes to a registered type of facility. I don't know where the nearest one is. I'm sure we could find out quickly, but that is the process if we had what would be a very rare and critical situation. The other would be major force majeure event,
earthquake or something
that was
like
happening. That maybe severed a major plumbing line within the facility. But even in that case, we're able to close off valves so that the entire facility is not depleted.
Yeah, so worst case scenario with bacteria, if you get it in the water at all, does that mean the entire water is contaminated?
I would think that's probably the case. And bacteria we're talking about is not, we're just talking about bacteria that would be detrimental to the equipment.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it is, highly problematic for a community. We're still not going to drop it into a drain. We're still going to treat it the same way.
So how quickly, if that happens and occurs, obviously you guys can't be down long. You'd have to drain it. How quickly can you refill it to be back in business? Because you got to keep those cool.
Yeah. So we in our agreement with our clients, we have some pretty punitive penalties if we're down. So what we're talking about right now is really a very extreme circumstance that we hope that we never, run into. But that scenario would be a big penalty for us. It wouldn't have an impact on the community at large. We would be required to drain as quickly as possible and to refill as quickly as possible. So if that was 2 days, we're kind of, okay. If it trickles into 4 and 5 days, it costs the company millions of dollars in penalties.
Would you have to shut down, like turn off the servers, shut down, like the draining process? Does that mean power goes off?
You'd be down. The facility would be down. Yeah, the facility would be down because it requires direct-to-chip cooling. It's also something that we can plan for. So, any kind of a bacterial event is going to be something that is likely coming from some type of a seal, possibly an oil or something that gets in, and we would see that pretty immediately, and seeing it immediately does not mean we have to shut down the system. It just means that our equipment is in jeopardy of corrosion, and so we'll want to plan for the exchange of water rapidly.
Operating site up there that's doing something. How much water do you think they're using?
Which site?
Current site. The current building.
Well, the current building is not totally occupied right now, and it's pretty light. They're primarily distribution, so I don't know the current amount they're using, but it's not heavy usage.
It's for reference, we have looked at it. It's probably in the 5 million gallon range annually. So what they're talking about, even though it's not fully occupied, it's a significant fraction of what they're currently using up there today.
Current building, current site's using.
It's using more than what they're projecting.
Yeah, probably, I don't know, 250 to 500. I mean, even if they had 500,000 every year, that's 10 times. So they're at 10th, so they're at 20th. Yeah. Current use.
So I want to go through a couple more slides, and then we'll continue the conversation. We can certainly come back to the topic of water. I think where I would summarize here is that the water use is actually extremely low. The risk of spilling into the community is extremely low, and the ability to service our needs to recycle or refill or refurbish that water supply is a proven process. While expensive to us, is not a threat to the community. The building where we propose to build into this is what is known as the Finger Hut building. It's 1 million square feet, just near the wind power at the mouth of the canyon. It is a fairly ideal scenario for repurpose of something like this, in that it is on a large plot of land. It's not close to a series of other industrial buildings. Currently, it is not near many residences, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's existing industrial, and a couple things I think are important to consider is that its ideal use, as it's currently built, is for distribution. 36 loading bays. We are proposing to purchase this building, and we do have information that there is another company right now who has put in another bid to purchase the building as well. In its current use, this building would see over 3,500 diesel trucks a month moving through Spanish Fork. 720 metric tons of CO2, compared to what at our facility would be a few dozen cars a day. Ultimately, this facility will see anywhere from 100 to 200 employees. There's no loading, there's no distribution. And so we do believe genuinely that for the city and the surrounding area, while data centers have been vilified a bit in previous design and certain inefficiencies, this facility with this proposed design is truly a net positive, and especially when compared to how the building would likely be used by any other owner or tenant compared to Volition. And so this is a look at how this will begin to build out. Same building, new purpose, and a extremely meaningful economic impact, where this building, as an extreme outlier to traditional industry, will house over $4 billion of power generation equipment, electrical equipment, and compute equipment in this facility. So in the end, we're looking at a situation where we have conversational level noise on the facility under 65 dBA, no added light pollution, minimal traffic on site, and no requested change to the skyline or interior or exterior fit. We make no request of the city for any tax incentive of any kind. We're making no request of the state for any tax incentive of any kind. So we leave this as this very vanilla tax vehicle that will generate a large amount of tax revenue that will be distributed in its normal flow of tax distribution through the city and through the school district. Allowing a community to have access to capital to grow, expand, develop, especially a city like Spanish Fork that is attractive and has plans to expand, we think this is a substantially impactful use of funds. But in addition to that, we really have a genuine desire to have our own direct impact as well. We will allocate a portion of our own annual income and our clients' annual income to create additional direct contributions in excess of $500,000 a year to the city, and also host industry training for professionals, paid apprenticeships, and also taking education into the high school and junior college level as these young folks consider how to adapt and to take advantage of new job opportunities in the IT industry at large, or specifically in the data center industry. Our leadership has a long history in learning and development throughout the U.S. So it's really something that's genuinely part of our DNA as we begin to build out learning and development programs that could benefit professionals and students here. And finally, we will be the first of its kind in the country as a developer to proactively engage in a development agreement that holds us accountable to all of the initiatives that we've outlined. A water use cap, no grid connection request ever, decommissioning plans that make it clear that as the property owner, if things were to implode economically, that allows us to have a clear path to decommission, enforceable noise limits, no diesel covenant, and annual public reporting on all of these development covenants that we wish to make with the city.
Well, real quick, Jeff, sorry while you're there. What does annual public reporting look like to you?
I think it looks like an annual report that would align with the terms of the development agreement, that gives empirical data that indicates that this was our actual use in these categories, for example. But I don't know the full structure of that yet, but that's how I see it. And I think that we would work in concert with the city legal to develop that process.
Jeff, I have a question on a side note. I don't think it was covered, so forgive me if it was, and I know we talked about it in our previous meeting, but I think our residents would want to ask or know, whose data are you housing? Is it Spanish Fork residents? Is it the American people? Whose data are you going to have there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the client there are a couple clients that will likely rent space in this building. The names are not well known because they're private companies. So, for example, one of them, for reference, is called N-Scale, the letter N and the word scale attached to it. They provide a software platform that does the actual work of the computer modeling and thinking through answers to queries or other uses of AI as it comes into these servers. The additional tenant behind N-Scale could be a variety of companies, brands that we all know well. For example, NVIDIA could run chips in the building. Meta could run chips in the building. Google could run chips in the building. And those queries can be hitting the building from as close as Spanish Fork, and they could be coming up. They could be coming from Salt Lake. They could be coming from, but they will pull from. They want queries hitting the building from as close as possible. That's called inference for speed. So certainly local queries will be routing into that building, and regional queries will be routing into that building. We do no work with U.S. government. There have been questions about surveillance, and we don't allow any inference work in our facility that has anything to do with government work or surveillance, including any private companies that is in the business of surveillance. Will not operate in our facilities.
Thank you.
You talked about the electrical grid, how you don't tie to that. What about the internet? What about, like, what does that look like from your company's side?
Meaning our use of electricity?
No, like networking and everything else. Do you with the amount of data and everything else going through there, what's that pipeline look like?
Okay, so that's a fiber engineering upgrade. So we have a design for multiple entry points of high access fiber that are required to be able to move this amount of throughput.
Yeah.
So our power systems also power the movement of data and fiber moving. So we pay for the upgrade, just like we pay for additional natural gas to come in, we pay for a fiber upgrade coming into the building as well to facilitate the movement of data.
Okay.
Jeff, one thing that we didn't talk about, and I don't think we talked about it before, is these power cells and these air conditioners, because I'm assuming that's what is going to be cooling the system. What kind of heat output are those putting into the area?
So our design is implementing heat capture. So there are parts of this system that are designed to capture heat, again, seeking to be as efficient with all parts of this engineering as possible. That heat capture, in some cases, is in the many hundreds of degrees, and we're able to use that back into our system to create energy to power our own cooling systems. So a large portion of the heat will never even meet the atmosphere. But I think for a broader view of overall heat coming off the system, we can come back to you with that amount. But again, in the scheme of comparables to engines, compressors, turbines, the fuel cell throws off very modest amount of heat.
You said you'd come back with that number. Is that what you said? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff, what's Volition's relationship with Bloom? Do you lease their equipment? Do you purchase their equipment?
Yeah, we're really just a customer. We purchase the equipment.
You purchase it.
They have leasing scenarios. For us, it makes most sense to own it as our own capital equipment and also enter into a long-term service agreement with Bloom.
Okay.
One of the nice things about Bloom is that you're able to service a singular unit without having anything else go down. So part of our plan with them is that in a 5, 6, or 7 year period when their technology is time to be upgraded, we are paying for that in advance monthly so that when a new technology is required in, we think, 7 to 8 years, they will schedule what ends up being like a year-long swap out and retrofit of that equipment. And it's built in such a way that you're never jeopardizing your overall power output as you upgrade the fuel cell.
Jeff, for a center this size, 250 megawatts, just curious if you could walk us through a little bit what would the fuel cells would look like double stacked, how many the view from Highway 6, what's the public's perception going to be of that if something like this were to go in this location? And then my second question would be, I'm sure people would be wondering, being downwind, right? We have the windmills up there, and especially those who are newer to this idea of a center going in, like what could potentially be harmful or, being downwind. If that makes sense.
From a harm standpoint, we don't see any harm in being downwind. We are designing the facility such that any equipment that may be on the louder side, like cooling equipment or heat producing, we're engineering on the farther side, the road side, the farther side of the building, contemplating that there are homes that are going to be built on what is the west side of this building. So we're engineering as if those homes were already in place from a sound standpoint, and if there was any way that heat was moving towards those homes. But all of our indication and seeing these units running up to an acre of fuel cell field, there's never been any measured heat movement that was tangible while you're standing next to a system. So and this is work that was done by Bloom and major companies like Oracle, major utilities who have purchased gigawatts of this fuel cell and installed it in different areas throughout the U.S. So these are studies that really kind of predate our work, and it's validated that there is no major heat impact, but I am, Jesse, going to get detail on it for you.
When you say 250 megawatts, is that per day, per year? Like how often are you producing 250 megawatts?
That's at peak use. So that means that if there was a major, influx of robotic query and all kind that at its max, we could power 250 megawatts for a period of time in the facility. The expectation is that day in and day out, it will be running on an average of about 75% of capacity.
Thank you.
Jeff, can you go back to one of your first slides where you asked the questions that get asked? I think these are, was it one more? Come back one more. Oh, not that one. Anyway, you asked the questions. It's one before the video, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's
Thanks,
the
Ryan.
first.
Right there. Just to give you a sense of how I am planning to evaluate the decision. And I think we need to talk about what our decision is and where we make it. Is it on, do we allow the power to be generated there, or do we allow the data center to be there as a land use? So I think we need to figure that out a little bit. However, for me, not speaking for the rest of my colleagues, these are the questions, right? Electricity, you're going to generate on site. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to touch our grid. You're not going to add to, subtract from our grid. So I get that. Water, what I want to see is you've showed the numbers, what you're going to use, what they use today. How big is this site?
The building itself is 1 million square
1
feet.
million square feet on
25 acres?
About 25 acres.
So if it was our
112,
there would be 60-ish homes there?
Let's just do the math. 25 times roughly 2.6 homes on an R112. So yeah, 65 to 70 houses.
So what I'm going to do in my calculations, I'm going to say, what does it do today? What if it was a data center? And what if it was homes? Because in my head, those are things that the public can understand. And I want to answer each one of these questions. How much electricity, how much water, how much noise, and how much air quality is for those three scenarios. The information you have provided so far looks like the least impact from all four of those is from your project. Now, I think there's going to be some skeptics in the world that don't believe those numbers.
There will be.
Right? And so I want to be as clear as I possibly can about my expectations from you. You give me those things, and I think you have, in essence, given me all of them. I would say that at your public hearing, put them on the board. This is our water consumption. This is what 60 homes would use in a given year. It's significantly less what you're proposing than 60 residential homes. And we wouldn't be having this conversation at all about water or heat or air or anything if this was a 60-unit residential community. We'd want to know what it looked like and how many trucks or traffic was. It's so fascinating that we're to this point, but rightly so because of some botched outreach other places. However, I think if we can put up in black and white, here are the actual facts, here are the numbers behind all of this, I think it'll make my job a lot easier to make a decision factual based instead of subjectively. Whoa, what time is it tonight? So if you could do that for me, put those just directly in front of my face.
Yeah.
Here are the numbers. We're going to hold you accountable to those numbers if you do get approved and move forward, right? And I think that annual update about what it looks like was a great question. I'm not sure if Kevin, it was a great question. What does that look like? Will you come before us and say, here's what we used, here's what we generated, all of those things? And I think one thing you're missing on here is what is the benefit to the city. You do show that on your slide. Currently, the property value, I looked it up, is valued at $50 million. the tax difference between 50 million and 4 billion is a significant number, a significant benefit to the county, to the Neville School District, to the city itself. And so there is some positive upside. Taking 3,600 trucks off the system every single day or once or yearly is a big deal. So I think the case can be made, but I need to see them in black and white so that when someone stops me at Macy's and says, "What the have you done?" I want to be able to say, "Look, here are our options. You tell me which is the least impactful and most beneficial to the city."
Shane, one thing we talked about in a prior meeting, that when you get people that get on and say you're liars, or they're liars, that you don't believe them, the water, they're going to use a lot more water than that. One way that we've discussed about the water is, and we can have our engineers discuss this as well, if they were a user that was going to use 650 million, was that the number that I saw, gallons of water a year, would they need to improve the infrastructure? Would they need to increase the pipes to be able to bring in that much water? More than likely, yes, they would need to. And from our understanding, and part of the development agreement, is that there won't be increased water pipes as far as the size.
You can't get the water there.
You can't get the water there. So even
Very
if they
important.
needed 650 million, they can't get the water there. You're not going to build something that you can't service and provide your customers what they need. And so that's one way to show or tell somebody, you know, they're lying about the water. Well, if they're lying about it, then they're going to struggle because they're not getting the water that you claim they're going to need.
Yeah, that's a key point, and it's one of the top level kind of low hanging answers to consider is that if we are not requesting any additional water than is currently permitted, then we're not a threat to excessive water use. And to your point, our company, our investors would never approve the investment of this scale into something that would require us to then come back and do some kind of bait and switch where we actually needed more water.
Right.
So that is not a thing. But I do want to help bucket these a little bit better for you.
Thank you.
So we'll
Appreciate
do
that. Okay.
Councilman Marshall, maybe on. That's
There you
me.
I'm like,
I-
Mike,
talking.
who's talking?
Not again. Okay.
Water usage, power usage, even maybe like trips per day per home, we have those numbers. So that part of what you described and that you want to see, I feel, I mean, not that I don't trust Jeff, but I would
Yeah, you
trust
have it.
our
I don't-
numbers
yeah, I don't know
better.
what- I don't need-
so we can
yeah.
work with them and we can say, hey, use these numbers for
Yeah,
that.
it's, you know, you could Google it, you could have chat do it, and it would come up with some ballpark estimates. I mean, when Mike said, "What's 5 tons?" I'm like, "Well, what's the? Let me figure that out."
Let me use that data center to figure it out.
Yep, we can use that data center to figure. But I appreciate that, Dave. Like, I think that is the context that will
Yeah,
help frame the argument one way or the other.
The part, yeah, I think that's a great point in that when we talk thousands of gallons of water, well, we think of the gallon jug that we just got.
Exactly.
And the thousands, that's a lot. Well, it uses 5 million gallons right now per year.
Right.
And so we're trying to use these words tons and gallons and thousands of this stuff. And when you put it in those, the context of it is what is super important of how that levels with what's currently used. My summary of maybe looking at something like this is echoing what's been said here already, but not hooked to our power, but hooked to our water in a way that you have the rights to water, and you're proposing to use a lot less, so considerably less than is currently used there, and other facilities certainly of that size. And you are hooked. We wouldn't call it our natural gas. It's not our natural gas, but we are natural gas customers. All of us residents are natural gas customers. I think it's a part that's maybe not touched here, but that's where you're going to start that generation of power. And so if I don't know, which I just don't know, is you using that much natural gas going to take away from the natural gas that I use? I pay a bill, you pay a bill. Your bill is going to be considerably larger, but is there enough out there that it doesn't, and again, I'm saying this in a way that I'm being a little rhetorical with it, because there wouldn't be that many billions of dollars invested if they didn't think there was a source that could be continually run to run those machines that power this. But still, in my mind as the resident, would be, you're taking a lot of natural gas. Is there enough natural gas for the rest of us? And I'm sure that's something that who you're buying that from is going to say that too. And so some reassurance there that's probably in permits or documents or something that says.
We'd be happy to. And it's, the difference between natural gas as a resource compared to electricity from the grid as a resource are miles apart in their availability. That doesn't mean that natural gas, we are projected to see natural gas over the next 10 years nationwide have some incremental increase because of the additional use of natural gas for systems like this. In the short term, there's no incremental impact to the ratepayers of natural gas at all. But let us help you see that in something documented.
Jeff, is there, in your video, I think it was, you talked about the data centers that you guys have built. Is there an example of one anywhere that we could see, like pictures of, or is it like, that's just a question I had, sorry.
The closest facility similar to this is here in Utah, Nova, in that they utilize a large portion of the Bloom fuel cell, both as backup power and primary power. So we have Bloom running extremely successfully here in Utah. While it's not under the Volition brand, it is the exact same team of general contractor and engineering that is building our facility.
Okay, thank you. Vaughn, this is a question for you. I know you're ready for a question tonight. So Jeff talked about he's the first, or Volition is the first to do a development agreement of this kind, at least for this industry. One of the things that you see often, or we've seen increasingly, we'll say that, is data centers saying something and then they come back and they sue the city for something different. If we do this development agreement, is that protect the city? What does that look like? And then how does that stand up in court? I know that's pretty loaded.
Oh, it is working again. That he outlined in the presentation. So those will be metrics, and if they don't reach them, then they're in breach of the agreement. And so that gives us a cause of action against them. So, yeah, I think it's enforceable for sure.
So it's just kind of dependent on how we put that together.
What types of remedies are provided in the agreement, and how we're going to pursue those.
And then, sorry, I have lots of random questions. I apologize.
Maybe, Jesse, before you go off of that, I think for me, one of the things that I've really appreciated in their proposal is this idea of a development agreement. We don't have a template for that, like in terms of how to have a development agreement with a data center. So I would look to them to start that. Like, what are you going to propose and what protections? And I'd look to their attorney to propose that and work that through. And then we can measure that against what we're comfortable with, what they're saying here tonight. I think, Jeff's doing a good job of trying to identify what, where they'd like to put the lines in the sand, but, they'll do that with that contract. And I think we look at those issues that you're mentioning and weigh it against, that language. And I think you, Vaughn, can certainly do that. But we'll look to them to propose what that looks like, because we don't have the beginnings of that template, right?
Thank you. This might be, I don't know if this is a Vaughn or a Dave question. As I look at the code, right, or the zoning for the site currently is I-1. And I don't see in the use of I-1, obviously we don't have data center in Title 15. Does this fit? Do we have to do a different type of amendment for a data center?
There's already been an application submitted for text change to specifically list data center, and that has been considered by the DRC, and it's going to Planning Commission.
So is that a separate Title 15 change to what we're talking about with self-power or or is it in the same?
They're in the same application.
Same application.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the one that's going to Planning Commission tomorrow.
Correct.
Okay. think that's the questions I had right now.
Again, a discussion item on the agenda, and we appreciate you being here to have that discussion and have these questions. Those so far, see if you can get an extra date on the calendar, but August 13th and August 14th will be here before we know it, and we'll be able to help you put those things out if you'd like. So people that want to ask questions can come ask questions.
That'd be great. Do you recommend that we add a Saturday, or that we move the Friday to, or we do a Friday early in the day and a Saturday?
I'd love to see a Saturday. I think that would be
Okay.
really
Yeah, I would
good.
prioritize a Saturday as far as the other two. In my opinion, the more the merrier.
Okay.
If you can do a Thursday,
It's no
Friday,
problem.
Saturday, great.
Well, yeah, let's debate that a little bit. Do you really want to come to a meeting on a Saturday, or would you rather like a Thursday night?
Or so you're saying
still
an
a human
evening.
being.
So you're
that
saying
values
evening.
your Saturdays.
So maybe a Thursday afternoon and a Friday evening.
Well, you
Okay.
No.
Friday evening is.
How long has it been since you were a teenager? Come on. Friday.
Thursday evening and Friday afternoon.
Sorry, I'm not
Personally
trying to
think
be
it-
too snarky. Obviously,
Good
I'm trying to be a
point.
little
It's a good
snarky.
point.
I think a mixture of all of them would actually be the best, right? Something in the middle of the day, something in the evening, and something on Saturday. I think that you've
Yeah.
tried to encapsulate the group of people that are going to come.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of experience you'd get on a Saturday. So I'm looking to you not as
What I
council
know we
members, but
will
as
get if we
people.
don't offer something is you're not transparent enough.
Yeah, those
And
times
10
that
to
we're-
10 to 2.
Yeah, we'd rather err on that side of it. I think a Friday afternoon might make sense if people have finished with sports and different things. And so we're happy to do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The only limitations in the evening on Thursday and Friday was just the actual building was
Sure.
being used.
So let's look at a few different spaces, and maybe we reach out to the Nebo School District to see if they have a space or two that could be used as well. Like, I don't think the location matters, just
Right.
as long as it's a space that can be.
Yeah, we looked at
findable.
the library. We looked at this iFit facility. Does that make sense?
No.
Some
Fit
kind of a
City?
fitness new.
City.
What is it?
I'll bet it was the Fit
in
City.
our
Uh-huh.
city.
Oh, the Fit
Yeah,
Fit
the
City.
Fit City
Yeah.
Community
Oh,
Center.
that's where this- yeah, got it wrong.
Yeah, why don't we'll just have somebody reach out to you
Okay.
tomorrow and work on those dates and try to
That'd be great.
pick some times. Probably Thursday evening, Friday afternoon, and something on Saturday. And,
Yeah.
and we'll expect Shane to be there on
Every
the
single time.
Saturday.
At least
Be
three
there
of
on
them.
three.
Not every single time, just a Saturday one.
And when is this? When is this
He doesn't have
planned
to mow
to
his
be
lawn.
on
Yeah,
the city
that's what
council
we're looking
agenda?
Potentially, the text amendment we talked about could be on the agenda for your next meeting.
So
Yeah.
2 weeks from today.
Potentially, yeah,
It will be on the Planning Commission's agenda. It is on their agenda tomorrow,
correct.
and that's a public hearing discussion.
Yes.
And depending on how that goes, we would expect the 18th to be a public hearing on the item just the same. And then you would consider it from there.
I think I didn't know that Rage Against the Machine was going to come full circle tonight. I'm glad it has, but I think that we can take that here in the context of that was something that got out of hand pretty quick, and it's a different era of 30 years ago for sure. But we immediately went to the worst case scenario of what was going to happen for some teenagers to come jump around and listen to rock and roll music, and then we had the best case scenario that they were going to come help all the old ladies across the street. It was probably somewhere in between.
Did you help anybody across the street that day?
I didn't help anybody, but they. I think in circumstances like this, it behooves, and we're this way anyway in Spanish Fork. I hope you guys have felt it, and everybody watching here can feel it. We're try to have level heads on our shoulders and get the data, get the facts, and then discuss those so we can come to a conclusion that is beneficial. And so appreciate all the information. Appreciate you taking the time, and appreciate you being willing to have the public come do that too. But I think it's incumbent on all of us to do like we always do and get that data, try to answer some questions. And when you don't know the answer to some questions, let's figure it out. I'll bet none of us knew tonight that the average was 500,000 gallons in our own house of water, but now we do, and so we can help put those in all contexts. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Anything
all of
else
you
you
for
want
your
to
time.
finish?
No, nothing else. I just we appreciate the work that we've done together at this point. However it lands, I want to ensure that our approach in the conversations with the community is there will be no agitation. We're not going to be there to argue anything with anybody other than to present information. And if there are folks who are upset, or that's okay. There won't be any. They'll all be really good conversations from our standpoint. So we look forward to it.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Okay, thank you
so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, I got to give you some context because you
Please
challenged
yes,
me.
context. Good.
I see in Provo, the big hospital.
Yes.
5.4 tons of NOx a year.
Ah.
They generate just over. Dang it! Now I can't see it.
Do you
'cause
want
it's
my
too damn low.
readers?
Please. Point. Listen, peanut gallery. Come on. PM 2.5, 0.8, these guys were something like 0.5. So that's the type of context. The hospital in Orem or in Provo generates about the same sort of emissions.
Yep.
So FYI.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's gather those data points and be able to put it in context to make an educated decision should it come in front of us. Appreciate that. I don't think we have any other discussion items before adjourning to closed session. We do have closed session and some items on there tonight, right?
Yep.
Anything else before that? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn to closed meeting for strategy sessions to discuss pending or reasonable imminent litigation, or strategy sessions to discuss the sale of real estate or real property, including any form of water right shares, per Utah Code 52-4-205 in the Explorer Room.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin. Second by Councilman Took to adjourn to closed meeting. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We're adjourned to closed session. Thank you all for coming.